Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the June 6, 2016 meeting of the Weare Board of Selectmen. We started at 6:30 with a non-public session to interview a potential new hire for the police department, and now we are at Pledge of Allegiance. So I ask everyone to stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now ask everyone to join us for a moment of silence. Thank you. The floor is open for public comment.
Good evening. My name is Helene Kirk, Mount Dearborn Road. First, just to let you know that the town-wide yard sale was a success. We had 81 sites, and I estimated that more than 1,000 people came through the center where we had 14 sites placed out, just to give a sense. And Mr. Campana told me that 91 cars, am I correct? 91 cars stopped just at his place alone, just to give an idea.
Well done.
We had the weather working with us. That was really great. The next big event that we're really working on is Old Home Day, and we're working on getting organizations, businesses, crafters, and vendors involved. We're pretty well set with the music. We have that going all day long, and as we tie things up, I'll give you an update on the specifics. I'm here mostly for some clarification from something that I read in the minutes of 5/23, which referred to the furnace at the Stone Memorial Building. And I wonder if you could clarify for me, the sentence that says here, the project was billed an additional $3,245 without authorization. Can that be clarified? I've been involved, as most of you know, with the Historical Society and moving things forward, and I don't quite understand that this was unauthorized, and I don't understand the additional. So if you could explain that to me.
This is the way I understand it, and if I misspeak or anything, feel free to jump in and correct me. As you remember, the original project was to add a new heating and cooling in the stone building and some insulation, which was done. However, it was done without having a clerk or oversight, real hired clerk or oversight as to the project. And so that work was done only to find out a very short time later that it wasn't done well. The insulation and the ductwork was leaking, and the ductwork wasn't done well, and there were some things that a contractor, I guess, was called to go in and take a look at it, and they found that.
From previous repair.
Say again?
From previous repair.
From the previous, from the original install.
The original install. Right.
So that contractor was hired to come in and do the duct insulation repair and, I guess, leaky duct repair. And while they were there, apparently found leaks in the propane supply lines and did all those. So that work, I guess, from my understanding, was the unauthorized work that cost the extra money that we weren't aware of.
I think not to the extent of the dollar amount. We knew there was a few leaks that Sherry had mentioned, but not $3,200 worth of leaks. We didn't realize it was that much.
Okay, because we did call the Office of Selectmen to say that it was going to cost more, and my recollection, which I think is pretty accurate, was, well, it needs to be done, so do it.
But we didn't know to the extent of the $3,200 worth of leaks.
And there was a commentary on the process, too. We just don't want to give contractors who come in and do work on our buildings basically a blank check. Go ahead and do any repair that you see needs to be done, and then...
Well, we've put almost $15,000 into the building ourselves, so... but the issue really is with the initial contractor, because, and yet, that was signed off on by your personnel. It was signed off on by the fire department, and it was signed off by the building department. So,
I know.
okay, so,
And
So
that's, in
I-
my opinion, where there's a problem in our process when we do construction work. We really need to have professionals that are on our side of the table to review the work.
but isn't that what you hired
A
your
building
people
inspector for? They can check see if it was done according to code, but did they go and check some of the things that a professional would do? I know in my work, I go through and do a pretty careful punch list of work before we sign off on final payments. The work we do around here, we don't have anybody on our side of the table who does that. We will for the highway garage because we're going to be hiring a clerk of the works. But before that, I haven't had that experience.
Well, I thought that that's why we hire the people we hire, that you can take care of those things. So is that $3,000 in addition to the 1,000? Thank you.
It was in, she's doing 1925. The 1925.
Lori Davis, Buxton School Road. I was just curious, I didn't see it on the agenda, what part of the meeting you're going to address the two subcommittees that are now working on the sound ordinance and the firing range?
We could do it under other business at the end, just talking about what the progress has been on those. And I'm interested in hearing about the progress on the noise ordinance committee because I wasn't at the last meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Are you going to be around for that?
Yes.
Okay.
Good evening, Richard Butt. I'd like to talk about the two subcommittees. First, are the meetings being posted?
I believe we will post them. They were on a website.
The initial meeting
I
might not
I
have
asked if they're
been.
being posted.
The initial meeting
Okay.
might not have been.
Okay. That's the intent, yes, that they be posted.
Okay, they haven't.
I can't verify it.
24 hours in advance of the meeting?
Yes.
The last meeting?
On Wednesday, yeah. On Wednesday. Last Wednesday it was.
Okay, I heard otherwise. That a call came in at 4 o'clock to post it for a meeting at 7 o'clock that night. Maybe you could look into it. Did you interview the candidates, either one of those two?
Did I interview the candidates?
Did the board, not you personally, did the board interview the candidates?
I think we opened it up to anybody who was interested and pretty much accepted everybody who was interested and invited them to join it.
So you didn't interview anyone?
We didn't.
But you do interview people that are being appointed to existing committees or being reappointed to committees, right?
Yes.
So let me just read a couple of comments from the last noise ordinance. You weren't there. Here are some of the comments. At the first meeting of the noise ordinance, there wasn't one of us in favor of a noise ordinance, including Selectman Baldwin, who even stated she's not in favor of a noise ordinance at that meeting. So, you know, typically when you interview people for a committee, you kind of ask them why they're interested in being on that committee. So you have a committee, apparently, if the information is correct, that no one on that committee wants a noise ordinance. Doesn't sound very fair.
Well, I was at that first meeting, and I too stated that I wish we didn't need a noise ordinance, and I wish that we weren't even meeting about having a noise ordinance. And there was some of that sentiment shared, that the wish was we wouldn't need one because people would be courteous to each other and talk as neighbors. But I don't know that I would interpret it as everybody being there that we're completely against the idea of a noise ordinance.
I probably the only one who has a record of that meeting. That's another thing I need to bring up with you. But it does say at the first meeting, there wasn't one of us in favor of noise ordinance. That's a quote
From the second meeting?
at the second meeting.
Okay.
You were there.
Yeah.
So I just don't know the makeup of that committee is whether or not it's gonna, if it's fair representation. And for you to start making comments about the noise ordinance, I mean, you've been working on that for 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
You've had several public comments.
Yep.
You should have a sense as to what's going on with that noise ordinance. To me, there are two issues: backyard firing ranges and fireworks.
Yep.
You know, if you
Would
start to
agree.
get, if you start to get involved with a lot of these, you know, other noises and determining how many decibels it is or isn't, or should be or shouldn't be, you're gonna get bogged down, nothing's gonna get done. You have two issues, and those are the two issues, the same two issues that have been brought out at both public hearings, which you convened, and you promised the voters that you'd have an article in the warrant this year, and you didn't. Did you even bring up, is that even available to the committee? The minutes of those meetings?
It's available
Was
to
it
anybody.
discussed?
It wasn't brought to the meeting.
You know, the only person in my mind that got kind of understood what was going on was the chief of police, who happened to be at that meeting last meeting. And there was other comments made at that meeting, that 80% of the people at the public hearing were against an ordinance, against the noise ordinance. And an additional comment was made, we're wasting our time. But I'm glad the chief was there, because I think he understood. Because, and I'm paraphrasing, he said that the proponents spoke at the beginning of it, and they did. But they soon left, after they were kind of shouted down. And the boisterous people that were supporting, not supporting the ordinance, kind of took over the meeting. Those people left the meeting. And the chief said, basically, you know, the police department is willing to be their spokesperson. They're willing to do the work for the people that don't have a voice. I certainly appreciate that comment. But, you know, I got a funny feeling that this committee is a committee that's made up of a group of people that don't want a noise ordinance, even stated that way, by a selectman who's representing herself, apparently, not representing the people in the community. The other thing is that the issue with the firing range. This is kind of just the opposite. Here you have an article that was, you know, was changed at the deliberative session from what the Board of Selectmen wanted. And it said to establish a feasibility study committee. That meeting only talked about strategy, how can we sell this to the voters? How can we get grants? How can we design the firing range? Soliciting information from other groups. But there was nothing there that indicated to me that there was even a remote chance that you're going to look at feasibility as to whether or not it should even be done. I mean, you know, when you look at feasibility, the word feasibility, it's an assessment of the practicality of proceeding with a plan. I didn't hear that. It certainly wasn't even discussed. So that's the warrant article, feasibility study. And I just don't understand why you're not even going into that aspect of the warrant.
So I guess you're interpreting that to mean feasibility of whether we should have one or not. I'm interpreting that to mean feasibility of improvements at the existing firing range.
Let me read again the definition of feasibility. You know, we're all entitled to our opinion, but, you know, there's only really one set of facts. An assessment of the practicality of a proposed plan. You're into the plan. You're not even evaluating whether or not this is something that's practical because you're opening it up as a public range. This isn't, the police don't need a range, right? Don't they have access to another range in town? I'm assuming they haven't done anything to be kicked out of there. And that range is set up for pistols as well as high caliber rifles. So you're opening up this range, a municipal range, which it has been, for the public to use if they go down and register with the police department. It should be easy to determine, since they have to go and register with the police department, how many people use that range. Over the past 10 years, Chief Rickney was the one that started it. As far as I know, every police chief since then, until it was closed, would allow the public to go down and use that range as long as they went and signed in. And that brings up one other question. Why is it shut down? Because I've heard several different reasons. One was vandalism. And then I heard it was unsafe. Then the Chief Kelly shut it down. And then we got a letter from the lawyer saying she agrees with Chief Kelly to shut down the range because of the town forest behind them, maybe the berm wasn't big. And that Primex recommended it be shut down. The Primex generated a report, which was supposedly sent to Chief Kelly and the town administrator. And now I don't even know if that report exists. There's a lot of confusion associated with that range. I just went online, quickly Googled, see how many municipal ranges in the state of New Hampshire were open to the public, and I didn't find one. And I don't know how many people in town. If there's 500 people that want to use that range, fine. Let me hear them sign up. Let's hear it. But I don't hear that. I know they're proponents for it, all well and good. But here you have another committee. You have one committee that doesn't want a noise ordinance, and you have another committee that wants a firing range. Where's the balance? Why didn't you interview these people to see what their position was? You had made a statement at the beginning of the meeting, the first meeting you attended, I believe, was the firing range, that we want to be transparent and we want the public to participate, and these are going to be broadcast and rebroadcast on YouTube. Well, we don't even know these. I didn't even know that meeting was on. I don't think anyone did. The only reason I was watching it because Channel 6 finally put a production on and had me scheduled for 7 o'clock that night. Because we go by the monthly calendar. None of your meetings are scheduled on the monthly calendar. So the only reason I saw it was because it interrupted our program. That's the only reason I saw it. And because of that, it wasn't recorded, Keith.
Okay.
It has to be scheduled to be recorded. And then once it's recorded, we have to go through a conversion to change the format to allow it to be rebroadcast on Channel 6 and to be broadcast on YouTube. It takes several hours. So right now, we go by the monthly calendar. None of your meetings are scheduled on the monthly calendar. I would question whether all those meetings have been posted in the proper locations. And who posted them? I know the town administrative secretary didn't post any of them. So somebody else posted them. I don't think you should be allowing that. I think they should come through the town administrator, the selectman's office, to be posted so we have a record of when it was posted. I guess that's about it. Again, I'd like to thank Chief Kelly. I don't get a chance to say that too often. For his comments at the noise ordinance. I think he's, I agree with everything he said. Thanks.
Thank you.
Make sure that makes it into the minutes.
Lori Davis, Buxton School Road. I happen to be on both committees. And in regards to the firing range, there is not an agreement that we are all in favor of having a firing range. There are at least 4 people on that committee who have reservations, and I am one. So it is not stacked that way. In regards to the sound ordinance, we all stated our personal opinion, but we all know that we have to keep an open mind to listen to the needs of the majority and to listen to what the town is asking for. And that is why we are taking our time. Our meetings are now being pushed out. We are not doing 2 meetings a month. We're doing 1 meeting a month. And we do not plan to bring forth a sound ordinance, if there is one, for at least another year. You will not see one coming forward on the next deliberative session for the ballot. That was discussed Wednesday night, and we were in agreement that this is going to take time. We need to work with the police department to learn the information they have. We need to get more input from the residents. We have to look at the areas involved and what exactly the issue is. It's not something that you can just push through. We have to take our time in order to do our due diligence.
Well, I happen to have recorded the first
It
meeting.
was just a 7:30 public.
Okay,
hearing.
good. A few minutes.
Thank you.
Keith, you actually started the meeting by asking everybody at the meeting if they're all in favor of the firing range. And everybody nodded, yeah.
Okay.
And actually, another person, just as you said that, said, well, don't worry, if there is one, we've got them outnumbered
At the first meeting?
at the first meeting.
Okay. I don't remember that
I
comment.
know, that's why I can say it because I got the video, so
Yeah.
that's what was said. So I don't think it's unbiased, I think it's biased.
So you recorded it on your own then?
Like I said, I was waiting for a production of Channel 6 to come on,
Yeah.
and it didn't come on, you came on, and that's when I recorded it.
Good. Thank you.
Good evening, Neil Kirk, Mount Dearborn Road. I'm concerned about the gazebo. I understand that we have some bids on that. We're going to go ahead with the repair. I'd like to urge the selectmen to do that as quickly as possible because the gazebo is really used, especially in the summer. Parks and Rec uses it for concert. It's an essential part of Old Home Day at the end of August, so whatever it takes, please try to get that done quickly. Thank you. Oh, and if you need Keith, if you need somebody to do some oversight, the Historical Society would be glad to provide a person to be clerk of the works for that,
For the gazebo?
for the gazebo. Sherry, I'm not volunteering her, but Sherry is top-notch.
Yeah. Thank you. Jane, you might be the last one until we have to
That's
open
okay.
our public hearing.
I'm going to rehash, I think, what Helene had brought up, and unfortunately, I wasn't here for the beginning part of her, so I don't know what she said. But you know that I attend most of the selectmen's meetings, maybe not all, but most of them. And when that came up about the stone building, I was scratching my head because I thought that it had been discussed at a selectmen's meeting, and I did look back. And on 10/5/15, Sherry came over and spoke to the board, stating that there were insulation, vent problems, ductwork wasn't cemented together, and the insulation was thin. And at that meeting on 10/5, Keith, you were going to get in touch with the building engineer who had designed it originally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then I went through and all the information, it didn't get brought up again until 11/23 when it was finished. It says, 11/23, stone built usefulness of clerk of the works. Oh no, excuse me, on 11/23, it said stone building and usefulness of the clerk of the works was debated by the board. That's it. I can't tell you what the debate was about or anything of that effect. But then on 11/30, the insulation was installed. That was a report that was given under the town administrator's report. So what happened between 10/5 was never discussed at this meeting, except for the meeting on 11/23, where the clerk of the works thing was debated, and 11/30 everything was done. So, I don't know, it just seems to me.
I think that the difference here is that the board approved an amount of $1,925 to repair that insulation and seal the ductwork, and in doing so, that would reduce some of the heat that was being leaked into the attic. The question came up, question of prior approval came up with another component, and that is that there was gas smelled, and there was work that had to be done on that.
Mm-hmm.
and that amounted to an additional $3,000+. And the question is, did that contractor get pre-approval from the selectman's office or from this board before going ahead with the work? That's where the question lies, not in that initial piece, because that was approved, and, you know, the money was going to come from the Government Building and Maintenance Fund. It's that second component, and I don't think anyone here is questioning whether or not it had to be done if there was propane leaking into the attic. It's a question of whether or not it followed the process that should have been followed.
But if you, my thing is, on 11/23, when the clerk of the works was discussed, something must have been brought up, or something must have been,
It was a broad discussion about the fact that we need one.
but it came, there was a heading that said stone building.
Well,
And that's all it
was
said above the debated.
That was the context that started the discussion. It
Okay.
was a level of frustration, at least from me,
Right.
on the fact that the work wasn't done properly initially, yet was signed off and paid for, and then only a very short time later to have to do major repair work to it, and then we get an estimate for that, and that work is done, but not only that work being done, but additional work found after the fact. And so that sparked a discussion about needing somebody on our side to be able to follow these contractors, make sure that it was done properly before they get their final payment and they're gone.
Now, I'm oblivious of codes. But under the, it was something, the National Electric Code. Are you familiar with that?
The National Electric Code?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, we are enforcing, obviously, the National Electric Code. And in 2015 series of I-code, familiar with that terminology? I don't know what that is. In the year 2016. I'm assuming that the National Code of 2014, which was what the original was about, had been revised and was now this other one, so that they were going to enforce it now. So if we're enforcing, this is just the electrical code, because I know there's other codes for other things. So if we're enforcing that, we should be enforcing the others as well, shouldn't we?
We should.
Under the code enforcement officer?
We should, but just because something is installed according, and I don't know, I'm ignorant of whether or not it was installed to code. I'm gonna put that right out there. But even if it were installed to code, doesn't mean it's installed in a quality manner that is deserving of the project. I mean, right, Jen? I mean, you guys do work, and you may put something into code, and another company may put something into code, but the quality of installation can be different, and the expectations either met or not met. So a code enforcement officer can go in and verify, yeah, it was installed per code. May not be good enough.
So why wouldn't he catch that?
I don't know. His job is to inspect to make sure it was installed per code.
Okay, what about new homes that are being built, that we're having here in town?
I'm gonna ask if we can continue this after
Okay.
the. Thank you. It's a little past 7:30, but I'm gonna open a public hearing for the purpose of hearing public testimony and comment on the change of address from 278 Maplewald Road to 8 Sparrow Lane, pursuant to RSA 231, 133A. So the floor is open for that.
Hi,
Hi.
Danielle Erickson. I didn't know there'd be so many people here tonight. So I've lived at 278 Maplewald Road for about 15 years now. I have 3 home-based businesses there, and I've named my farm Maplewald Farm. As a writer, I'm really interested in words. The word Maplewald is important to me because sugar maples are my favorite trees. The word wald happens to mean forest, and it's an Old English word that comes from Norse origins, and as an Erickson, I'm Norwegian. So I like the word Maplewald. And I own a back lot there, my sister owns a back lot, and when we were recently told that the shared driveway had to become a private road in order to get a building permit, even though we've been paying taxes to the town as building lots on these back lots for all the years that we've owned them, we complied completely with the town. And perhaps I was naive, but I thought it was only the back lots that were going to be affected by it. And I thought that my front lot, since I own close to 200 feet of frontage on Maplewald Road, I thought that my front lot would remain as Maplewald Road. And, you know, again, I'm a writer and an engineer, and it was just never made clear to me that that would change. So I was hoping that I could keep the address of Maplewald Road. I have hundreds, if not thousands of dollars of marketing materials for my different businesses. I brought some samples for the board to see. I did go to the post office, and they told me that because luckily we're such a small town, I probably don't have to throw this stuff away because the mail carriers could probably find me. But I'm a photographer and a published writer. So here are some examples of my cards that all have my farm name on it. Like I said, I feel kind of silly and kind of naive that I really thought that this was about my back lot. I understand that it's about fire and safety, 911. But I think that there's really compelling evidence that fire and safety could find me. I'm at 278 Maplewald Road between something like 268 and 282. Officer Knox came to my property this weekend when I asked him to, because I had ongoing multiple problems with my neighbor's dog, and I asked Officer Knox if he could come over and see, and he had no problem finding me at 278 Maplewald Road, even though there's a road sign there now for Sparrow Lane. There's some of the other ones I didn't show you. These are the other things. My work is in multiple stores, and I have that. So, you know, again, I understand the reason. And I'm grateful that the post office said that they'll probably, you know, if things come back to me because of my old address. But really, I was just hoping that since you can see my house from Maplewald Road, that I could keep that address. And that the back lots would be the ones that were affected. And the other thing is, again, if I had been, if somebody had told me that it was going to affect the front lot too, and I feel naive that I didn't think that it was going to affect the front lot, I probably would have asked to name the road Maplewald Road Extension. You know, I buy hay from a farmer in Francistown who lives on Bible Hill Road Extension. I would have kept the name Maplewald Road in that road name instead of naming it Sparrow Lane. But, I mean, I just wanted the opportunity to plead my case. Again, I think the bottom line is for fire and safety, you can see my house from Maplewald Road. It's a sparsely populated road. You can clearly see that I'm between these other things. I think any police officer or fire engine that needed to respond to my house could easily find me.
Background information.
I was going to ask for the same.
Or
We're sharing the mic here.
this one doesn't work. That's okay, I'll use it.
No, background information as to the change. My first question was that a Class 6 road to begin with?
What was it? It was a driveway, and Wendy is here as well as the E911 for the state coordinators here to give you a background of that section of it. But that was a driveway. It's my understanding it was a shared driveway to your home and to Mr. Parker out back.
There are 3 lots out back.
Right, on one.
Mr. Parker lives there. He calls it camp, but he actually lives there 365 days a year.
But it started as a driveway.
Started as a driveway, And there are 3 lots that were grandfathered by the town. I own one of the lots, my sister owns one, and Mr. Parker owns one. And even though Mr. Parker has lived there, my sister wasn't granted a building permit in order to live there until the town changed it to a private road. So that was kind of frustrating because Mr. Parker's been getting away with living back there without it being a private road.
I think the reason for that is because a shared driveway only allows can only access 2 lots. That's according to town.
But there
ordinance.
were always 3 lots there, with all due respect. And again, we've been paying taxes
Right.
as
But
buildable lots
I think that
the entire time.
what activated the change was the fact that there was a request to actually build back there. Because the only one back there, I believe, that actually had a building of any sort was Parker.
Yeah.
But then there were 2 other lots.
Mhm.
So in order to not violate the town's zoning ordinance, there could only be access through a shared driveway to 2 properties, and that's why it had to be changed to a road rather than just a driveway in order to not violate, and in order to allow that person, who I believe came before us,
Walton, is that your sister?
Yes.
yes,
Mr. and Mrs. Walton.
yeah, it came before us in order to get that approval. So that's how the whole thing originated, and we ended up with a Sparrow Lane.
And certainly we've tried to comply with everything the town has put forth. I think we've been very proactive on all of that. And again, like I said, I feel a little bit naive that for some reason I was given the impression that my front lot was, because I have 200 feet of frontage on Maplewald Road, that I just didn't realize.
But your driveway comes out on Sparrow Lane, correct?
Yeah.
So
apparently it does.
according to,
Yours comes down on me.
the driveway is now Sparrow Lane, right? Is the driveway, where your driveway went is now called Sparrow Lane, correct?
Yeah.
So your driveway now accesses Sparrow Lane, and the driveway accesses you're given from the 911 system is where your driveway meets whatever the road is called. So your driveway used to be on 278 Maplewald Road.
Right.
Now Sparrow Lane has taken over the driveway, so you have access now to Sparrow Lane.
And again, I'm sorry, I feel naive. I'm a software engineer and a writer. I'm not a planning board person. I'm not a town planner. I wish Chip Meany or somebody had made that a little bit more clear to me, because I would have, I mean, my sister let me name the road Sparrow Lane. I named it after her dog.
Yeah.
I would have named it Maplewald Road Extension so that I wouldn't be losing thousands of dollars worth of marketing material
But
here.
on this here, the marketing, it doesn't have a street address, and I realize
No,
that.
some of it does.
Because this
The
picture
one that
is-
you're looking at doesn't.
Right, these two
This
are.
one does, some of the
Okay.
other things. I have, you know, I do direct mail. I have, I think, 5,000 envelopes down at Major Mail in Hollis right now that has Maplewald Road on it. And it's just even the farm name, I mean, that I've registered with the state and has been registered with the state for something like 8 years now. I mean, I do marketing. I can do my own websites. This will cost me less to change than it will cost other people. It's just very frustrating to me that I feel like the town, Chip Meany should have guided us through this process, and he should have made this a little bit more clear to me, because I felt like my road frontage is clearly on Maplewald Road. And it's very clear that there are 2 houses on either side of me. And like I said, Officer Knox didn't seem to have a problem finding.
Yeah, and I understand that too. If you're on a corner lot of subdivision that had Maplewald and Sparrow Lane, if you had a driveway off Maplewald, your address would be Maplewald, but even though you can see your house, but the ordinance also talks about that where your driveway accesses the road is what your address is. I understand what you're saying, I'm just explaining that that's probably, the change came along in that direction. Make it the ordinance to be compliant.
It looks like there's other people that want to weigh in, so there may be some helpful information coming. Maybe not,
Well, are you
but
gonna open?
Maybe not, I just have some sort of questions. First of all, where's your mailbox?
My mailbox is located on Maplewald Road, and they say that I won't be able to change it because Sparrow Lane is gonna be a private road, which is not town maintained, so I will not be able to move my mailbox. It has to remain on Maplewald Road.
Okay, so that's one thing. The other thing is, how hard would it be if Danielle supports changing the name from Sparrow, since it just went up, how long ago? How long ago has it been? A month?
3 weeks, a month.
3 weeks? To change it to Maplewald Extension, if that would make it work.
I think you can talk to the 911 coordinator at the state.
Okay.
But speak on the behalf of changing to Maplewald Road Extension. By law,
Can you make sure that you get the mic so that people can hear you?
hi, my name is Kenny Lynn Dempsey. I'm with the state of New Hampshire E911 Data Operations, and I'm actually the field representative for the town of Weare. And the problem, I totally sympathize with you. I know that you have business and paperwork and envelopes and everything else, and this is a matter of safety. And in regards to the question for Maplewald Road Extension, there is a law, it's RSA 271-133, that prohibits the use of a duplicate road name. And Maplewald Road Extension would be a duplicate road name. So even if the town wanted to change it to the extension, the town would violate the law. So they would not be able
Getting
to.
away with that.
They probably had it prior to the law going into effect.
Of course, we could change the law.
Yeah, I don't know if you would change that particular law because it's there for safety. It's there to protect people. The law was written, a lot of times you might have, for example, a beach street that's spelled like a tree, and then a beach street that's spelled like an ocean on two different ends of town. They created that law, so if somebody's dialing, they say I'm on Beach Street, they know which Beach Street to go to. To prevent that from ever happening, anything that's a duplicate or a similar sounding road name cannot be adopted by a town.
Even if it's on the same street, even if it's connecting
Even if
to the
it's
same
on
street?
the same street, yep.
Wow.
And I have the RSA right here.
Probably predates the law.
Yes, and yeah, it probably does. The law, I believe, went into effect in, I think it was 1985. So, on here is, I just have a little pamphlet, and the RSA is in this pamphlet. And there's a little screen print as well. So does Maplewald Farm Road sound too much? Yeah, because the fact that it has the same name, Maplewald. Now, another issue is the fact that your house, not only does it now have access from Sparrow Lane, but it also faces Sparrow Lane. So let's say, I know that you said the police chief had no problems finding you. But let's say something's happening, you're having a heart attack or something's going on.
The neighbor's dog is attacking me.
The neighbor's dog is attacking you, and you need to call 911, and their ambulance is out, so they have to get mutual aid to come in and help. Well, mutual aid may not know that you're on that particular driveway, and they're gonna drive right by looking for 278, because it's not gonna be right there visible. They're
Well, if they
gonna,
get 20 feet past my driveway, they'll see there.
and then I drove down your road, it's kind of hard to turn around with an ambulance, it's very narrow. It would be very difficult, because I just took a drive by there, and if they were to pass it, there's quite a distance that they would have to go, and they wouldn't even be able to turn around any place close.
No, it's
So-
house near, we saw you.
Yes, you saw me use it, yeah. And that's why I like to take a drive-by, just to see if maybe, there's, but in that particular case of your driveway, I would hate it if a fire truck went by. There's no way a fire truck would ever be able to
Okay.
turn around.
Well, I appreciate everybody listening to my argument, and I appreciate your time.
Okay.
Just
Does
a
anybody have
point
any
is,
questions?
you have 200 feet of frontage on Maplewald Road.
Yes,
Is
well,
there anything that precludes you from trying to get a driveway permit to come out on the Maplewald Road within that 200 foot?
That is something that I've seen people do.
Yeah.
They've changed.
And
their
that way you
driveway.
could keep your same address number?
No, the address would be a little different. wouldn't it?
Well, it'd still be
No, because
Maplewald.
It's based on footage.
It's-
So if you're gonna move it from here to here, there's X amount of numbers, and
Yeah.
that's not.
Right,
But she's 278 now.
If it's within that 50-foot
If she's within
increment,
50
she-
foot.
She'll get it.
Well, she might come like a
Or she
circle
could leave the,
driveway.
Well, I'm just,
but I mean, if she could do that, she
Yeah.
could keep the same
That's
Maple
exactly
Old
where
address and
it's
probably
so
put the
far.
mailbox at the
Gonna
corner.
spend $10,000 to build a driveway to save $1,500 in marketing material.
I'm not sure if it's worth it.
Yeah.
I agree
Well-
with you.
She doesn't have to use the driveway. And all she has to do is get a culvert over the road.
Oh, that's a good point.
Was there any other questions for him?
There may be,
All
but
right, I
still
will-
public
I'll
hearings.
come back up if anybody has any questions. I already signed.
Is there anybody else wishing to speak during the public hearing portion? Okay, close the public hearing then. What are our options?
if you have an option, which she gave you. We've adopted a numbering system according to the RSA, and that's why you're having a public hearing.
Why can't you just leave your business address at 278 Maple Wall Road?
Because it doesn't
That's where your
exist.
mailbox is anyways.
Right.
I mean-
Technically, it doesn't exist.
So what if it says 8 Sparrow Lane on your,
Uh,
you know, I mean,
Because
for your,
technically
for
it
your
doesn't
business.
exist, huh?
Just a question to the board.
Sure.
Would there be anything illegal about her putting up a sign that says 278 Maple Walled Road?
Isn't there a sign ordinance?
No. It's assuming that she gets permission from the sign ordinance, and I think this would qualify. But is there anything that prevents her from keeping up a sign there? She's got a mailbox. Now, she can't put false information on the mailbox, but
I
what
don't know, you
prevents her
might
from
be
putting
better,
a stake in the ground that says 278 on it, 278 Maple Wall?
you might be better capable of answering that question than we are.
I'm not as an individual, but the planning board might. Thank you.
Or put 2 numbers on your mailbox. When I own the store, I use one mailbox for the mail. It both went, both the store mail and my home mail went into the same mailbox, so it said 118 and 125 Concord Stage Road on the same mailbox.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I have one more comment. In regards to the mailbox and the mailing, if you were to keep the mailbox of 278 and your mailing and then your billing, do you have a landline or what kind of phone line do you have?
I have a landline and a cell phone.
Okay.
My 800 number for my 2 businesses comes through my cell phone, but I have a fax number and a landline.
Okay, so what would happen is if you were using the address of 278 for your billing address, and let's say you're using the Sparrow Lane as your actual address, if you were to call 911, it's going to show 278 if that's what you were using for your billing. Even if you were to say, I'm at 8 Sparrow Lane, it's going to show up on our screens 278 Sparrow Lane, because that's what's going to be the 911 database. Maple
because
Wall,
it comes
I'm
from the
sorry.
phone company?
Yes, because our information comes from the phone company. And they take their information from the billing. So,
That solves your problem.
so,
Yeah, just changed it.
No,
so
the
I,
building comes to Maple Wall, right?
Yeah.
Piece of salt.
no, actually, no, because what's gonna happen is it's not gonna show the proper address on the 911 system, and she's going to be calling for help, and it's gonna come up 278, but she's really now number 8 Sparrow. It's gonna show the wrong address.
Want to go to the right place.
Yeah, exactly.
No, we'll change the billing change, I think she's saying is changing the billing address. It will then come up in the phone company, if she uses the landline to call 911, the computer at the dispatcher will say 8 Sparrow Lane.
Correct.
No. No, just the opposite.
If
It's
she
the
changes her
opposite.
billing
you-
address?
When we process any sort of address change, we not only change the address on our maps, but also with the phone companies. We notify all the phone companies that there's been an address change. But if she was to use that mailbox and continue to use the old address, it's going to mess up things, and somehow it can get reverted back because you're using the old address for the billing, and it could show as the old address instead of the new address.
And what's the problem with that?
The problem with that is, the whole reason for this change is so that emergency responders will be able to find her at that new address, and they don't drive by.
If she keeps her 278 Maple Wall address with the telephone company, and that is in your system now, not Sparrow Lane, Sparrow Lane doesn't exist, and and nothing else happens, then isn't she happy and isn't 911?
911, she's happy, 911's not happy, because they're
911's
looking
not
for an
happy.
address that doesn't exist.
Yes.
Even though
Correct.
on the mailbox, it says that number.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's right in front of the house.
I'm just repeating what I'm hearing.
It's asking.
Right, but at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're driving on a jet black road, and it's a fire department coming down, they're gonna wanna know, they can see that street side Sparrow Lane, they can turn right into Sparrow Lane and find her just like that. But they're gonna, you're saying to look at the mailbox.
I thought you said that if Danielle tells
Yeah,
Granite State,
Neil, I'm gonna ask you to,
I'm sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I thought you said that 911 gets its information from the telephone company.
Yes.
If Danielle makes no change in her current billing address, which is 278 Maple Wall with Granite State, then isn't everyone happy?
except for 911.
Except for
But
911.
911 knows that she's at 278 Maple Wall.
They want her to be at 8.
Our maps.
An
I
address that
understand
no
that's what
longer
they
exists.
want, but since there's no difference in reality from a GPS location system between 8 Sparrow Lane and 278 Maple Wall, they're identical. How is there any harm done?
They could miss the turn of Sparrow Lane is what I'm hearing.
That's the issue.
And her
But-
driveway is on Sparrow Lane.
Take the sign down.
But I guess
Neil, I'm
missing
just
that
repeating
point.
what I've heard, that's all.
Right, and I'm
I'm
not
saying
disagreeing.
I agree with it either, I don't know.
I'm
it's just-
confused.
I have a question.
Yes.
It isn't directly toward this, but where there are so many people who are discontinuing the landlines, how does the cell phone tie in with the 911?
Well, that's a good question. It all depends on really your carrier. Because some of the carriers, and I can't mention any names or anything, but some of the carriers are really, really good as far as they have the GPS chip in them, and the GPS is gonna give you the exact latitude and longitude. But there's other carriers that you may think that you have a smartphone, it's gonna be able to tell you exactly where you go, but they don't have that special little extra piece in that chip. So what they have to do is they have to triangulate around 3 different towers, and they call it ping.
But it doesn't have anything to do with billing address or anything
That
like that?
has nothing to do with the
cell phone.
address, no.
It's a physical location of the
It's-
cell phone?
It's location of the cell phone. And
Okay.
so they send it out to the different addresses, and that's in our maps, the map that you have right there. It'll show, I'll just use this for example. It can show, depending on satellite, cell phone service, it can ping and it could go out to maybe here, or here, or here, or here. It's not an exact science if you have one of the phones that do not have that chip in it.
So if I eliminate my landline, which I'm happy to do because it's a monthly bill that I really don't need to pay since my clients all reach me through my cell phone.
I can't get, I don't know what your phone carrier is, what,
Verizon.
and I can't tell you because of legalities, I can't tell you.
But you're
Yes,
telling
you
me
should
that
keep this
basically
one and no, you
everything that
can't
you're
keep that
saying
one.
is based on the fact that I have a landline through Granite State Telephone.
Mhm.
So if I eliminate my landline through Granite State Telephone, everything that you've said is null and void.
So I had the same thought. If she were to say, but I wasn't going to suggest it.
Yeah.
But if, and I'm going to repeat it because
Yeah, we're-
people at home
I know,
probably didn't
but-
hear what you said.
and
But the
I-
question was, if she eliminates the landline and goes strictly cell, then the argument of it's going to come up wrong when she makes a 911 call kind of goes away, right?
we will. It'll be in
Well, that
effect
part
if something
kind of
happens.
goes away, yes, but they're still gonna ask you what address. The caller, the telecommunicator on the other end, it's gonna say 911, you know, where are you calling
For
from?
15 years, I've been saying 278 Maplewald Road. It's gonna be really hard for me to get used to saying 8 Sparrow Lane in an emergency, especially since I've been calling the police lately because of my neighbor's dogs.
And we're not the neighbors. Just so you know.
And the police are familiar with where I live and with where my neighbors and their dogs live.
So as far as, I mean, I would never recommend anybody gets rid of their landlines. I mean, I am one of the people that I got rid of mine and now I got another one because I know that, let's say I have spotty cell service that day, I don't wanna take the chance that it's gonna have to try to triangulate around 3 towers to try to find me. Depends on your service.
I live within line of sight of the tower.
The public hearing portion is actually closed. So.
Okay.
Kind of reopened it because there were some questions, but rather than just debating. So, what are our options? Do we have any? Are we required one public hearing? Are we required to act on it tonight?
Well, you put the RSA in there where you can, prior to the actual assignment or alteration. The governing body or the planning board should hold a public hearing 10 days, which is what you're doing now. There's no public hearing required if the property owner voluntarily consents. That's why we're here.
To changing the name?
What that doesn't tell us is whether we have any options.
Well, but it doesn't say that the name is necessarily Sparrow Lane yet until we approve this, right? Because there's no sign up there saying Sparrow Lane,
Yes,
because
there
it's
is.
not Sparrow Lane yet, because
There's a sign up
There
there.
is?
There is a
Absolutely.
sign, the town
How-
asked us to put up a sign.
how can there
so
be one
we
if-
spent our own money on putting up the sign at the town's request.
Yeah, there's
how
one.
can there
I can
be,
take it down.
how can there be a sign if we haven't officially changed the
Well,
name of the road
is-
yet?
Is your sister and her husband's got a building permit? That's
We have a
why.
building permit, they broke ground today.
Right.
So it's a
that's
private
why
road.
they have a house. So you have to have a number for the house.
But you said we need to have a public hearing.
Because it's not a consenting change. It says right here, no public hearing should be required where the property owner
It's
voluntarily consents to the property number being renumbered.
Okay. But they don't consent, so we're here having a public hearing.
There's one
But it
out
doesn't say that,
of 3 people that live on the road. So,
and how quickly do we have to act after having a public hearing?
I don't know, I mean, what type of situation do we put ourselves in?
I don't know, I just want to see what
I'm
our
just
options
saying,
are.
Yeah,
I know they know where to find her, but if mutual aid had to find her, I'm just, I mean, are we opening the door, I don't, to a lawsuit if
I don't know, and
somebody passes away or the house burns down or God forbid, I'm just saying, we've got a suggestion, we adopted an E911 system, I understand what she's saying. A
Absolutely.
lot of people, we did this a long time ago for a dozen streets in town because of E911, and there were too many, you had View Road, you had Mountain View Road, so we had to change some addresses around. We
Ridgeview.
did the same thing. I'm just saying, I understand where she's coming from, she's got money spent, and I get it. But on the other side, we sit here, and if you have to get an emergency to somebody's house, I don't want, we have to think about that. We've adopted the E911 system. This is how, and I also understand what she's saying, I get it.
I still don't, and I understand. If we go through with this, you're officially at 8 Sparrow Lane, but you keep your business mailing address at 278 Maplewall Road, and there's, you can leave it on your mailbox. I mean, I don't see as that's gonna interfere with 911, if that's your personal choice, because there's a sign there that says Sparrow Lane, and there's a number on your house that says 8. So as far
Are
as,
you saying that I can keep my business address as 278 Maplewald Road?
I can't advise that, but that's what I would do. Because, you know, you're talking about emergency services. You put your 8 on your house, you put the Sparrow Lane sign up, which is already there. So-
Again, Tom, all of that, assuming all that happens, and her billing address and her mailing address is 278 Maplewald, and then she makes a landline phone call to 911. What I'm hearing is that E911, it'll pop up 278 Maplewald, and the potential is there for an emergency vehicle to go right past Sparrow Lane and miss her driveway. That's what I'm hearing. Whether that's
Yeah.
And that's an issue, but
The only way to
she's
avoid
already
it is
solved that by
to
getting rid of
put a
the
driveway in off of the 200-foot road. Doesn't mean you have to use it, but you put a driveway
I
in.
will
It
get
could be
rid
a
of
dirt
it. I
driveway
think
with a
that will
culvert.
solve the problem. I mean, I use it for, it's, my
Right? Still use the
accountant's
other
been
one.
telling me to try
Yeah,
to
I
reduce
know.
my expenses. I keep the landline because my clients are veterinarians and they like to have a fax because they don't like to scan things and email it. I don't need a fax machine.
well, there's some options, decisions that you can make on your own without.
If
Any-
all it takes is getting rid of the landline.
Yeah, you can fax off yourself.
I don't know, Naomi. I think before we make a decision, I mean, I don't know. Do we want to ask who's the land use?
What do you want to ask?
What are the ramifications if she keeps her address and we move ahead with the change in the name of the road?
Oh, I didn't even think about my
Well, she's picked the name, they picked the name of the road
I know they did.
themselves.
I know
So
they did.
think- And it's a private road, so
I
I
know
don't know
they
if
did.
we can.
No, I'm not saying we change
Yeah,
that.
because I have 3 different businesses and my personal.
And the other thing is we're weighing in on something where one person is
Yep.
opposed it, and there's 2 other people on that road.
Well, then I'll
I
entertain a
think
motion
you-
if someone wants to make
I
one.
think you have options that you can decide on yourself, but I think that one thing you have to do, you have to accept that it's Sparrow Lane. You have to number your house 8. You could still be Maple Wall Farm with a sign right out near your driveway that says Maple Wall Farm. And, you know, I understand the point about 911, but I think there are probably more people who don't have landlines today than do, if you go by our local phone book, which is really defunct. No, I mean, we used to have a little advertising phone book, and it's like the number of landlines shrunk so much that it's no longer published. And in a way, I agree with you, it's too bad, because we used to be able to find people that way, even for personal reasons, but you can't do it anymore. I don't think that if your personal decision, not a board decision, but your personal decision is to do something else with your landline, then that's your decision. But that doesn't take away from the fact that you gotta have an 8 for 8 Sparrow Lane on your house.
I don't mind putting an 8 on my house. If I could keep a mailing address as 278 Maplewald Road, it would be very helpful.
Wouldn't that be
That would be
between
the
her and the post office?
yeah. That point's, yep. 2 in the post office.
Theoretically, it's an address that does not exist.
Yeah, well, it's up to the post office whether it exists or not.
I know, a lot of people don't use it.
Yeah. Well,
I think-
what's the pleasure of the board tonight?
I don't think we have a choice as far as
Yeah.
having it as 8 Sparrow Lane.
Correct.
Okay.
Personally, I understand everything, and
I
I
do
think
too.
you might have some
I absolutely
personal
agree.
wiggling in there to do, but
Okay.
I don't think we have a choice.
No.
I don't believe so.
Would somebody like to make a motion then? Okay, well, I'll do it.
Do we need a motion?
Do we?
We already established.
Yep, yep, okay.
Sign this form.
Is the language on there? Oh, I've got to sign it?
It's recommended, rejected, explanation, and signature.
Then I'd rather not be the one to make the motion if I'm going to be asked to sign it.
Can I make a motion to leave this decision up to the chair?
You have the signature of the property owners. It's a voluntary change of address. That's what this one says.
We need a lot number, don't we?
There's also recommendations of the safety committee. You don't have one. it out with the RSA. I don't think we have much. I don't
We
think-
have no choice.
I don't think we have much wiggle room.
All about.
What's the lot number, do we have lot number?
Tax map and lot number?
Well, that's the easiest way to identify it.
We don't have the consenting signature. So,
So that's gonna get done before we can act on it?
To make it, somebody consent
No,
before you act on it?
Well, the reason that I thought we have this is because we don't have a consent,
consenting,
is that why?
yeah, we don't have consenting.
Yeah, so she's not agreeing to sign that form, which
Yeah.
is why I got to
Yeah, I
us.
would sign.
Oh,
Why I got
so it's
to
your
us.
fault.
I want, it's all my fault. I
Want somebody else to
wanted you
do
to hear
it.
my story, and I apologize, I didn't realize there'd be so many people in the audience, and I appreciate you all listening to my story.
It's,
So then the motion will be to change the
Can I-
name of the
can I-
road against her will.
Can I
Yeah.
pass my cards around so people can see what I do on Maple Farm?
You can do whatever you want.
I mean,
And
But
I
I
think
don't
you've got a
think-
couple of plugs in during our meeting.
Yeah, 1 or 3.
but I don't think that it's completely here because there's 2 other people on that road. It's a private road, but they're now using it as a private road to access back property or
But
sister for one.
But that's probably why we had to list a public hearing, so they're available, they could come, they could
The
come.
RSA, you have to hold a public hearing for someone that's not consenting, which is why the form is not signed in the middle.
Right.
Therefore, it goes through the public hearing process for the
And I
RSA.
was trying to do, I sure brought more.
And are they all notified, all the people that live on this road are notified of this public hearing?
And I'll take the notified her, and I posted it in the appropriate places and it's on the website.
So regardless, I mean,
Yep.
they're,
I'll move that we
I mean-
confirm the name of
Sparrow,
Sparrow.
Sparrow Lane.
Give you that?
No, I did not. I do.
Okay.
Here it is.
Thank you.
Okay, I move that we approve or reaffirm the naming of the road in question as Sparrow Lane, and that all numbers on the road remain as assigned.
Second.
any other discussion? Not that we really need any.
No.
Hear that over here?
Well, it's because you were all talking.
I said, I move that we reaffirm the name of the road as Sparrow Lane, and that all numbers on that road be, what'd I say?
Assigned, as assigned.
As assigned.
Remain as assigned. Sorry.
And was that, and that was seconded by,
Me.
by Jack? Okay. Do you want to add, to have me sign it?
Yes, and approve the signing of the document.
Still good for you?
Yep,
Okay.
second.
Okay. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Unfortunately, I think it's out of our realm.
Unanimous.
Well, let's hope your publicity makes your business boom. But let's hope this bit of publicity makes your business boom.
Okay, so,
Oh, no, we're not there yet. We're still at public comment.
Yeah, we said we'd go back.
So we're back,
oh.
we're back
to
open
Jan.
for public comment.
Would you?
Okay, we're all set.
If you want to continue asking. I believe you were asking about building codes.
Yes, and my concern was like for new homes, I mean,
8 o'clock.
obviously they have to come under the electrical code and all the other codes that I'm assuming would be the same as what town buildings would have to be coming under. I guess my concern is, I know that you want to have somebody else come in, and me with the dollar sign going, if you're gonna be hiring somebody to just come in for the government buildings, I don't get that. If
No,
we
I'm
have somebody
talking, well,
that's-
because if I'm a private business owner or a private residence owner, and I'm getting a building built for myself, I'm gonna hire a professional to design it. I'm gonna have it built by whoever, maybe it's a low bid, maybe it's not the best builder. I'm gonna have, the town is gonna come in and they're gonna, whatever rudimentary check they do to ensure building code compliance, they'll do. It's not an exhaustive, protect me as the building owner type of inspection. It's an inspection to protect the town more or less, that the building is done according to building code. But as the building owner, I'm gonna want whoever designed the building to check on my builder to tell me, yeah, they did a good job, you can pay them for their construction work. So as far as town buildings goes, we're the town building owners. Design services and inspection services are a teeny tiny fraction of the overall pie of building construction. And they're worth every penny, and I'm not just saying that because that's what I do for a living, but because it's true. You pay somebody to go in and check to make sure that your design was carried out according to the plans and specs that you were paid to prepare. So I, as a design professional, am paid to prepare plans and specs for a project. Building code is the minimum, but my plans and specs more than likely are going to go above and beyond what the building code minimums are that will prevent or hopefully ensure a quality installation and construction job so that it lasts as it should. And part of the services of a design professional is to go back and make sure, as best as they can do, that was done according to the standards identified in the plans and specs. And that's all I've been talking about having done for the town. Somebody who does that for a living, who did the design, prepared the design, knows what they expected it to look like, knows what they expected the quality to be, to come back before we pay the final bill off to whoever built the building to say, yeah, they did a good job, you should feel secure paying them and not worrying about it. Now, they're also on the hook for however long the warranty period is that was in the plans and specs. So if something goes wrong or something's discovered, like the ductwork wasn't taped, or insulation wasn't as thick as it was specified to be, they're able to come back and fix that at no charge. They're on the hook for that. Well, in this case, though, the company who did it was no longer in business. But that's all we were talking about as far as somebody on our side, besides an employee of the town. Does that make sense?
Yeah, except that isn't the employee of the town signing off on these buildings?
They're signing off on the code minimum. The code is the minimum. Something
But if
can be
you're
in.
giving somebody an occupancy, well, let me explain. Okay, back when I first worked here, back years ago, we didn't have any, but we didn't have a building inspector, we didn't have anything. There were many things that were going, this is one of the reasons I left here, because it was so depressing. There was nothing you could do. House up on Ridgeview, by the way, had a fire in a child's room because the builder who built it didn't put the what are the things that go in the flues? Not the flue, but the
Flue liner?
Yeah, didn't put one in. We had people up on another road. It was over, I think, on Abaja Bridge Road.
You're making my point.
Yeah, but now we have that. We
The building
have.
inspector goes out on site, what, 2 or 3 times during the process of construction? A lot of construction happens for 8-10 hours a day,
Okay.
and the building inspector goes at a one little teeny snapshot in time. They can't possibly see everything as it's going in. They can't.
Yeah, but not.
No, I understand, but there's a lot of parts and pieces to a heating system that get buried. Look at, if the ductwork is insulated, how is the building inspector, without taking the insulation off, going to know that the ductwork was taped or sealed properly?
You could see, I don't know the first thing about anything, and I could see it.
Well, I haven't been up there, so I don't know what to tell you about that. But then why wasn't that mentioned before right when we was first done? With who?
When it was first done?
Well, there were some personal medical things happening, but it was mentioned very soon after that. We said, go after him.
I didn't look that far back in the minutes. Okay, you've answered some of my
Okay,
questions.
okay.
Thank you.
I just had the last question, or comment, or, no, it's a question. Doesn't the town administrator have some authority to authorize a bill?
In our purchasing policy, there's it would be in there, I'm sure. But we were talking about an additional $3,000, right? In the case of extras to the heating system repairs.
I guess.
Yeah, I would imagine that's above and beyond the whatever the
Okay,
authority is given in the
because you
purchasing
need to know
policy.
there was communication, it wasn't something
Oh,
we did.
and I said there was a conversation that there was some leaks. And I said, well, we can't have it leaking.
Right.
Well, I didn't know the leaks were the extent of that much.
Yeah.
Because I said have them fixed, I didn't,
Right.
it also wasn't, we just received the bill.
And nobody would have said, no, don't fix that. I think what would have been more proper is to say, the extent of these leaks are gonna be in the neighborhood of $3,000 to $5,000 in repairs. Oh, okay, and then we're informed of that, instead of just finding out
I
after.
think, and also, I mean, he admitted that he forgot to bill us. And that's why I thought we were all done, not knowing, and then the bill came, so.
Because he did, and you should go and look at it,
Mhm.
Keith, he did an excellent job.
I heard that.
I encourage.
Good. Hope we never hear from it again until it needs to be replaced in 50, 60 years from now. We are still at public comment, so is there anybody else here for public comment? Good.
That's recorded, Keith.
That's okay. It's, what time is it? 8:25, and we just got out on public comment. Department head committee items, and we have Chris Haig here for a discussion on the furnace.
Another heating system.
Another heating system. Yeah, I know. This should be quick.
I only made one copy of this little thing, but I made copies for you of these others. Start them down.
I'm gonna give this single copy to Janet.
Chris Haig from the library. Last fall, we talked about some of the capital needs that the library had, and I'm very grateful to the townspeople for passing the warrant. And by the grace of God, the furnace made it through the winter without any really serious problems. It broke once, but that was really the fault of the fuel oil provider. And they were able to drill the bolts out and fix it. So here we are, and I'm very happy about that. I asked for 3 quotes, and I got 2 back, and one did not. He spent a long time, and he did not reply. This went to the Board of Trustees of the library on Thursday night, and they would like, if you are agreeable, to go with an up to amount. One of these quotes is for a Weil McLean Gold Series boiler to be installed by the person who did the repairs last winter and who has done all of our maintenance for a number of years. And it does come with a 2-year warranty. What he would do, as he put it, is all the way up to the ceiling. So the boiler would come out, the circulators and valves and the electrical wiring that is associated with the boiler would all be upgraded. And that estimate is $7,930.75. I talked to him today because this was a November document, and he said he would keep it good for us. The other one, just relaying what the trustees felt, it's a new style of boiler, or new to New Hampshire, I guess. It comes in at a slightly lower price, but they were a little bit unsure about it. Well, a lot unsure about it. So I asked someone in the trades, and they said, yeah, there's some of them around, but they're hard to fix, and they need to be fixed more often than the others.
And which one was that?
It's,
Was it the
I can't,
Beyonce?
yes, is that how you say it?
I don't know, but I wouldn't recommend it. I've never heard of it.
Well, that's why the trustees were a little bit unsure, because they said, what is this? And we have the specs and whatnot, but someone in the trade said there aren't a lot of them around. And that was a concern of mine, and then he said they're hard to fix.
That's my
So,
concern.
I had a wood stove that was wonderful, marvelous, 10 years, okay. The guy stopped selling them, so we couldn't get the parts. A Weil McLean is going to be here forever. So, without the third estimate, which they just failed to send in. The trustees asked for an up to amount to see if we could just get this done.
Did you reach out to, how many companies did you reach out to for the project?
3,
You reached out to 3.
yes. And 3 came.
And did you reach out to them with a specific, again, spec and what you wanted replaced, or just said, we need a boiler, give us a
I
price?
took them down and showed them what we had, and I said, we need not just the furnace itself, we need the circulators and whatever goes with it. I am not a builder, so I couldn't give them anything more for a proposal. And this is what we got back. The third person who came spent probably close to 2 hours, and he wanted to know what all the zones were. You can see that when you look at the circulators, how many zones. He measured, taped off and measured the whole building. I don't know what he thought he was going to do, maybe put in a whole new system or something, but there was no response from that company, so. And they knew that the trustees needed the information by Thursday. So I have no explanation for why we didn't get it. We can get a third one.
Where is this Hilltop Heating out of?
I don't know.
Where is, Chris, where's Hilltop Heating? Is Mr. Dumas from?
Jim Dumas, Deering.
He's from there.
Yeah, he did my furnace at home.
Okay.
And my furnace broke the day of Christmas Eve day. And he came right out. And when the furnace broke in the library, of course it was a Saturday, and he came right out. He's very responsible, and he does high-quality work. And he put a rush on our new furnace and got it in 1 day. And we've had it for 4 years since that time. So he is known to us, and, well, actually, both bidders are known to us. The other one did our library air conditioners. And when you're talking about clerks of the works, the library addition was built without a clerk of the works. And both Bessie Murr and I have had to deal with repairs that came about because they cut corners.
Did HR Clough give you a warranty or any type of indication? This one has
let's see.
a 2-year on craftsmanship and 1 year on warranty service if the system fails.
It doesn't give BTs or anything,
No. Neither.
On the Clough one,
either one of them.
Neither one of them.
Yep.
I think the Clough one it's in that printout that I gave you.
And the Clough, I didn't see it.
Oh, in the
Oh, it's in that printout?
oh, well, they didn't tell you which model, like, did they?
Right, it just starts at like 67.
B10-5.
Is that
It's B10-5
BTU.
cast iron.
No, B10-5.
-5
Turn the pages here some more. No, it's not even.
with a yellow burner.
says B10 right for the job?
We have a water filtration system for our bubblers that is proprietary, which I wanted to get it fixed, and we've had a lot of problems with the company that put it in. It took 2 years to get it fixed. And they'd always say that they were sending someone out and no one would ever show up. And finally, this past year, we've gotten it fixed. If this other boiler is not common in New Hampshire, and if it's proprietary parts, I don't want anybody to have to go through the problems that we did with our water system.
Are you concerned that we're leaning towards this because it's a lower price? Because I'm not. I don't
Well,
think
I
Jen is.
just,
I don't think.
I don't know anything about this, and I'm not against new things.
Yeah,
But-
my concern was that you reached out to 3, which is good. You got 2 back, okay. My concern is, no, you could have reached out to 7.
Well, I
And
can
there-
do that still.
I'm not
Yeah.
necessarily asking you to, but even if you did, we're gonna get apples and oranges and bananas for proposals back and not know, there's no real comparison because they're all, this is not only a price of what, but it's their estimation of what should be in there as a replacement.
We've done that with air conditioners before. We just put it out and said, this is how many square feet, and we've brought in quotes and replaced 2 of our air conditioners, so it's just a matter of what you want to do. If we want to make it apples and apples, I can't write the RFP, because I don't know. I don't know how to write one for a furnace.
Yeah, it's something though as simple as, BTU output,
Right,
right?
yeah. Because I just looked in, this one, the B10-5 is 124,000 BTUs.
Oh, you looked it up online?
Yeah. But it
Well,
doesn't say
McLean.
anything about this Well McLean.
Yeah,
It
what
doesn't
size?
even say, does it say Well McLean?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Right at the bottom.
Well, McLean,
Oh, yeah,
both are
yeah,
Well, McLean Gold Series.
yeah.
about the same, it's all fired, they're all close to the same. All fired
The other
furnaces.
concern I have is we do have other plumbing and heating companies in Weare that have, well, I know one just recently did a boiler for us at the
Yeah.
town hall, and maybe you didn't know that they were the ones that did it, or have their contact information, but it might be good to reach out to.
Well, one of them that, I got some names, and one of them that I called didn't answer the phone, so that didn't work out too very well.
Sure.
Mostly going with ones that we knew, so it depends what you would like to have done. If you want further research done on this, then just specify what, and we'll do it.
I'd like to see the apples to apples
You
quotes.
know, no, not only this sprinkler head, is he licensed in sprinklers? That to me was a big concern.
I don't think he would put it in if he wasn't.
Who's that? Which one?
What this makes me nervous, anything with a sprinkler system.
Oh, yeah, sprinkler head purge cogs.
He is a licensed plumber as well as,
You have to have a,
Fire
usually
protection.
it's a sprinkler company that does that,
Yeah.
It would be included in the purge.
yeah. And there probably is a special license, I just.
So Chris is looking, I think, for some direction.
Yeah.
Right.
So what do we? I keep looking this end of the table. Jen's the expert in plumbing, heating.
I would use this one as maybe a template.
Which one?
Forced hot air boiler,
Built up.
5 circulators, flow checks.
Forced hot air boiler?
where does it say forced hot air? We have water.
Forced hot
Water.
water.
That's what I meant.
Oh,
Oh boy,
Come
your
on.
credibility is really starting to.
ooh,
Flow
okay.
checks, zone control relays, expansion tank high vents, auto feed, but I don't see it where.
He's got all this right here. It's again spelled out on the back, the other company too.
But I don't see a WAGS valve on there.
Piping trim.
I'd make sure that there was a WAGS valve.
A what?
A WAGS valve
Then
helps with hot water and stuff.
Okay.
But I would use that one as a template.
So in other words, go out for quotes now on the same name, Weil McLean, or just the other qualifications?
That's it, Well McLean, or even a Vidaris
Okay.
with like a,
Did you
Well-
say comparable?
Could you, yeah, I was
Yeah.
gonna say, could you
Or
say Weil
equal.
McLean or equivalent?
Or equal? Yeah.
Oh, equivalent.
or comparable.
and then I would do a, the burner I would do,
Maybe that's why the guy was measuring the size of
Yeah.
the libraries for,
the
to make
burner
sure
I
the
would
BTUs
do
was
like
enough.
a, I don't know, whatever comes with it. I can't remember the name of the names.
Well, we can start with this.
Will you, Naomi, give Chris the names of people that
I think
we've reached out to?
I think I have the ones that she called.
Okay.
Riella burner, with a
Yeah.
Riella burner.
Um,
Do you want this?
yeah. Thank you.
Oh, and we need to know the BTUs on it.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Chris. Before you go, just want to thank you for being our librarian for
Yes.
so long.
You're
We got
welcome.
notice that you've resigned, unfortunately.
I may be back with furnaces before then.
Okay.
But thank you very much.
And can I address one other thing before you go? I got a note from Joint Loss about a statement of safety policy.
Yes.
I was going to ask for a motion later in the meeting, but before I did, I was going to ask that we modify one of these. Item number 4.
What does it say?
It says that the town of Weare will comply with all safety laws and regulations. And what I would like to make it say is that the town of Weare will make every reasonable effort to comply with all safety laws and regulations. I don't even know that we could identify or know about every. That's why I want to add reasonable effort to that.
You know, go ahead and do that. I have to retype the document if you do. So what you should do is send me an email so I can modify the document and then you can go ahead with it.
Okay.
And just put the language in that you want. The one that, Phil St. Cyr would be the one that would tell us whether we can get away with doing that kind of thing or not. I suspect we can. But, again, it's outside my area of expertise.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Still under department head committee items, I'm going to ask, thank you for your patience, Chief. But
my time is yours. Do you have anything specific for me?
You could status of our personnel and hiring. We
Okay.
did interview a candidate tonight, and you did make mention that we have one more slot to fill after that.
That is correct.
And then if you could just a brief update on status of our fleet.
Okay. Starting with the personnel side, today, this evening, in non-public session, as you're aware, I brought forward a candidate for your consideration, a young man from Peterborough by the name of Matthew Beltate. And after a fairly extensive, I'll go through the extensive hiring process next week when there's a little more time for that in the agenda. But I'm looking forward to this young man coming in and swearing him in next Board of Selectmen's meeting and sending him to the police academy. That leaves us with one vacancy in patrol, and the written test was administered on Saturday that we will subscribe to, and then hopefully we'll find another candidate.
Can you just repeat for everyone what you told us about the narrowing down to where we got to today? Just briefly.
Sure. How we got to Matthews, we started out with 2 separate written tests that, first of all, the written test we subscribed to is administered by the Great Bay Community College. And they typically have anywhere between 120 and 150 or so people take the test, and their passing score is 70. Very frankly, we've raised the bar and call a passing grade 80 here for our purposes. And in doing that, we took a look at the results from 2 separate tests and had about 205 candidates that we looked at, and in fact invited to apply to the Weare Police Department. That was winnowed down through a self-selection process, then physical fitness test, interviews, and so forth. It came down to 2 candidates. We had 2 vacancies, we had 2 candidates. Our background investigator discovered that one of the candidates was a former Latin Kings street gang member, so we didn't think we wanted to have him here in Weare. And the other candidate is Mr. Beltate, and we're very happy to have him in Weare.
Thank you. And the cars?
We're getting there. Right now we have 3 cars that are, 2 are approved for emergency response. Ford has, first of all, Mark Phillips Automotive has done a tremendous amount of work, and at your suggestion, which I embraced, we've had those cars also looked at by Ford, and in some instances, 2 specifically, car 1 and car 5, Ford will not, and this is my choice of word, they will not certify those cars as police vehicles any longer in terms of emergency response, because though they meet, you're talking about minimum codes before, that's a perfect example or segue into this. Though they meet the state minimum requirements for inspection, the frames are so rotten, they don't have holes through them, but they're so rotten that Ford is concerned that they wouldn't be able to protect the occupants in a high-speed crash. So though we will continue to use those cars for things like transporting officers back and forth to training, or if they were to work a private detail, they will not be used for patrol simply because they're unsafe. Car 1 is not back yet from the repairs to it. 5, I don't think 5's back either. So anyway, we have 2 that are on the road and are qualified for police work, and they're being used actively. Everything else is in either actively being repaired or it is waiting repair.
And I just want to give you an opportunity to brag a little about the, I've been getting some email updates on some accolades, and so I was just going to invite you to share some of those with the public.
Thank you. We've had 2 instances, and frankly, they both involve the fire department. There's a joking phrase, the ABCs of police work: ambulance before cruiser. But in a town of this size, where we have 60 square miles, and our officers are on duty 20 hours a day, chances are solid that the police department's going to get there first in many instances. And in the last 2 weeks, we've had, in one instance, our officers had fortuitously just left the home and were literally down the block when the residents called 911, and they went right back to the house and ended up doing CPR and using the AED on them, and last time I knew, they're still alive. So outstanding work on those officers' part. And then I just got a call today from a resident that was I don't want to reveal too much because I want to protect their privacy, but another 911 call of significance, and there was a person in severe medical distress, and the other occupants of the home were very pleased with our swift response and how compassionate and kind they were with the family while they were dealing with it.
I was at that.
That's that's the kind of thing that I like to read about, and these are the types of behaviors that we want to encourage. So I'm thrilled to death that this lady took the time to give us a call and let us know.
Anybody else have anything for Chief?
I have one other item, if you don't mind,
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Selectman. I had it's not an unusual call, but it was the first of its type that I've had here in Weare. I had the Merrimack Trail Riders Association is looking to hold an event down the Bolton Pit at 1225 River Road the weekend of Friday, July 22nd through Sunday, July 24th. And the gentleman that called me said he was just letting us know. And so I started asking him some questions, and what it turns out is that on Friday evening, they're expecting 25% of their participants to be camping overnight down in the pit, and Saturday night, more numbers than that, and that they are expecting between 400 and 500 people in the competitors and fans. So even with only having 10 fingers and 10 toes, I can do the math on this. That seems like a lot of people in a congested area on a road that is, on the weekends is, kind of residential. There's a lot of commercial activity out there. Anyway, so my thoughts were, in my former life, this would be obvious. The town would be applied to for a permit, and it would be, the permit would be walked around to the fire department and the public works and the police department for an impact statement and recommendations to the board of selectmen for what you'd recommend for them to have the event. If you've got or I should say, if we have a permit process here in town, I don't even know about it, because I've never seen one in 2 years. So I don't know how to address this with this gentleman, or, say that, with 500 people and that type of event, that the fire department apparently has already been contracted for EMS services.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you want me to do?
That doesn't sound like there's much to do it. The fact that they reached out to make you aware is a positive thing.
I hope that the first Board of Selectmen's meeting following this event is as quiet as this one. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you.
What do you recommend?
I'd have cops. I'd have cops there. At least for 500 people coming in and out for traffic in a residential community, I would want to have the police there for traffic control. And we have 2 officers that work shift. Last weekend we had 61 calls for service. That's without a 500-person event in one spot in town. So, like I said, in my former life,
Have you met with him?
I talked to him on the phone today.
Okay, because he's coming to town. He's coming to town to meet with Mr. Bolton this week. And they can direct him to see you if you like.
That would probably be a grand idea, because it just seems to me that 500 people in one spot over 3 days, a 24-hour a day event for 3 days is. I can't imagine that we'll have only 62 calls for service that weekend. One more call we can handle, but I find it unlikely that it's going to be.
You'll have less than
that. Like I said, I hope the next Board of Selectmen's meeting after this event is as quiet as this evening's.
Yeah, put in my 2 cents.
Absolutely, of course.
Well, if we have, we pay detail, or have the school, say, pay detail for an event at the high school, it seems like something of this nature, we should ask the sponsors of the event to pay for detail patrol at that event, and whether we have the officers to do it, or whether we have to go to a neighboring town to get the officers. It seems to me that the logical thing to do is to ask for them to pay to have detail on patrol during their event.
24 hours a day for 3 days?
Maybe we could give them a little sleep time. I don't know. That would have to be worked out, but they could communicate with the chief as far as what he would recommend for coverage. And I don't mean to pass the buck to you, but you would know better than us.
Maybe what they've done in the
I think
past.
I want to have that conversation with him. What he described was the gates being open at 4 o'clock on Friday, a smaller event Friday evening with the gates closing at 10 o'clock, and then again, as I said, 25% of the weekend's activity, camping overnight, Friday night, and then bigger number on Saturday night. Then youth-related races on Saturday, and then Sunday is 3 separate races. They go off at certain times throughout the course of the day. Greater importance throughout the day, so that's going to be the busier day. It's what?
Dirt bikes.
Dirt bikes.
Google,
I'm sure that right at 10 o'clock they'll shut the motorcycles off, and there won't be any noise in the neighborhoods, and there won't be any bonfires, there won't be any problems down there at all. But
that works.
I'm sure that that's going to be the case.
Well, it's a private event, just like.
Is it like a family event?
You have a wedding on private property, I'm all for it until they start leaving drunk. Then I have a problem. I'm not saying that this is what's going to be happening here, that they're going to leave there drunk. But if anybody has any belief that 500 people on a hot July Friday and Saturday night They're gonna just go down there and at 10 o'clock, close that gate, and everybody jump in their sleeping bags and be quiet for the next 8 hours. They're kidding themselves. I just think that it's a burden on this community to have to undertake the law enforcement and police services those for those 2 days and take it on the chin. It just doesn't seem reasonable to me, but it's up to you guys.
Well, the first step in asking them to reach out and meet with the chief is a good one, and we've got time between now, well, do we? How much time we have between now and the end of July?
I can just have him go down and see it.
That's a good idea.
Any other,
No, I support you.
that makes sense, Tom?
Yeah, it also would make sense to revisit our former permit policy and update it.
The thing with permits, I like the idea, because of an event like this, somebody walks around the permit, they can go in and see Chief Vizina, and Chief Vizina can say, listen, this is great, if you're gonna have a bonfire, you have to have this, whatever the fire department will require for minimums and so forth. Okay. Might talk about EMS. Public Works, they might have, I don't know what, on a private property, I don't know what, but the police department would certainly have an opportunity to ask the questions of, okay, how are people getting there? How are people leaving? What are the volumes in terms of time? Who's controlling the event? How are you going to prevent people from leaving facilities if they've had too much to drink? A couple of reasonable questions. That doesn't mean we have to give them a permit, and that doesn't. If we don't give them a permit, that doesn't mean they don't have to have the event. But we don't need to have our names attached to it. So.
I'm just thinking without any permit process, the event occurs without our even having knowledge of it.
Until 911 starts getting, and Rick and his crew have to go down there for ambulance call after ambulance call, and my guys have to go down and peel a guy off a tree down further south on River Road, and the event on private property I have no issue with whatsoever. It's when it boils over and starts to affect the neighbors and the safety of the community. That's when. I hope that I'm being an alarmist on this. But that in a buck and a half, I get it covered off. Okay.
All right.
I'll climb off my soapbox and go someplace else. Anything else for me? All right. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Good night,
Next up is Solar Up New Hampshire discussion with Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission. So I recognize Jack Munn and Angela Drake.
Okay. Okay, good evening, thank you. My name is Jack Munn, I'm Chief Planner with the Planning Commission, and this is a program that we've been running through 7 communities last year, and it was all very successful. It was a grassroots kind of campaign using local volunteers, and the goal is to help people understand solar energy better, kind of get more information about solar energy, and promote it in the community if it's a good thing for individuals. And we've also opened it up for commercial businesses and municipalities as well to take advantage of the discounted pricing that's available through the program, and to take advantage of just the educational benefits. So it's really kind of a neighbor-to-neighbor sponsored type of program, spreading the word. It was carried out in Francistown, the closest community to Weare, last year, and it was so successful there they want to redo it again this year. New Boston is going to do it, and we've been in touch with Angela and Naomi about it, and we think Weare is really a great community It's a really highly visible, community-supported program. It's got a lot of great positive benefits. We're hoping, what we would like is basically your nod of okay to go ahead and proceed to do it in the community. It takes about 15 to 18 weeks to run the program, and residents come in to workshops. They may come to the old home days, and there might be a booth set up where they can get information about solar energy. Then they can kind of make a decision if they would want the solar installer to come out to their house to do an inspection. And if their house is good and they're interested in solar energy, they can get discounted pricing through the selected solar installer for the community. And they can take advantage of the state rebates and all the federal 30% tax credits, which are still good for the next couple of years. So we have met with 4 or 5 solar installers over the last couple months, and they're all very interested in submitting a bid and proposal to be selected. The Planning Commission doesn't pick the solar installer. The community actually does, because the idea is to build up trust between the community volunteers and the installer that they want to work with. And that model has worked pretty well. Last year, amongst the 7 communities, there were well over 153 residents that ended up signing up for solar and getting discounted pricing. I think about 3 or 4 businesses. So it really worked out pretty well. We're hoping Francistown, New Boston, and Weare can kind of be one cooperative community, all 3 towns kind of working together. Angela, do you want to say something?
Yeah, we were talking about working, for workshops and things like that, just the kind of added publicity as well as just overlap with schedules, if you can't make it in Weare, all the same information is in New Boston and things like that. It's a no cost to the town itself. It's all private, residents or businesses, municipality, building things. It's a great program. I know just myself, husband and I have talked about putting solar on, over time, and I know other people in town have, so I think that there is an interest. So I appreciate support.
Specifically, what are you asking the town?
I was gonna say, what is preventing solar installers from holding workshops without coming to us? Why would you need our endorsement for solar companies to come and put on workshops and talk to people about putting solar up?
No, that anybody can do that within any place or location. The advantage of this program is the solar installer that's selected will have additional discounted pricing.
So
competitive one-time pricing for that sign-up period of the 15 to 16 weeks.
So we're kind of picking a winner?
We're picking a winner, yeah. Exactly.
I don't like that.
What criteria is used?
We have a very sophisticated RFP proposal that's already, in fact, we have a workshop scheduled tomorrow morning to go over it with the solar installers that are interested in submitting a bid. And there's all kinds of technical specifications. We work with Smart Power, who's one of the national energy marketing firms in the country that runs these events all over New England and different locations. And they're going to be providing technical assistance to review the solar installers' bids to make sure that all the right technical specifications are included, all the right warranties, everything's included.
Could the workshops happen without having a specific solar installer as the winner?
You could have any solar installer do any workshop that they would like to. the advantage of the Solar Up New Hampshire is that this is a vetted process. So the installer that is selected is going to be one that really wants to work here in town, really wants to work through the program, and it really has all the right qualifications from the get-go. Maybe has already worked in doing a Solar Up New Hampshire or Solar Rise program before. So there's some advantages of having a bid submitted by an installer that wants to really work in your community.
So the RFP for the solar installers is part of that sponsoring and putting on these programs?
No, the planning commission is doing all that work. So the town really is not involved in any of the requests for proposals or the review of the installers. All we are looking for is the town selectmen saying, yeah, this is a great thing to happen in the community. We like the idea of town residents working together to promote solar, to do these workshops, put up banners, basically promote going solar, working with the program.
I think all that part is, worthwhile. The only part that I still can't wrap my mind around is why all that can't happen without picking a vendor saying, go through this guy.
Well, there's all kinds of marketing information that we provide through the program. There's banners, yard signs, flyers, letters. There's a variety of different things. We do a mass mailing to all the town residents. There's many different things that go up and beyond what a solar installer would do. It's really a community-based program. That's the difference.
Again, I guess maybe I'm not asking it right.
Okay.
And maybe I'm just not getting it. I don't know, maybe everybody around me is getting it and I'm not. All those things that you just said about the flyers and the mailers and the signs and everything, those signs are not by the solar installer. They're by Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission, who puts this series of programs on. Why wouldn't that be allowed to happen without saying we're going to pick one company and to be the endorsed solar installer for the town?
Well, the program pays for all the marketing materials. So if you're either going to be interested in participating in the program, then you would take advantage of all that marketing material that would be made available. It really helps to, elevate the visibility for people, town residents. If you did not participate, then you would not have the ability to have all that marketing material.
So he's saying that you're going to put out an RFP to different solar installers, and whoever meets the certain criteria of experience, reliability, so forth, good workmanship, and those are the ones that you will recommend to anybody that wants to do it or be involved in the program.
Yeah, we will have, the RFP is already out now. It went out to pretty much every solar installer in New Hampshire as well as many in Massachusetts. We've also met with many solar installers, and they're all very interested. About 4 or 5 really key ones that are very interested. They'll come back with a proposal that will then identify how much discounted pricing that they'll be able to offer the community. They'll find out which communities are interested in participating in the program. Then they'll kind of tailor their proposal around your community, knowing how many people are in the community, how many households. Then there'll be an interview process set up, and then the town volunteers will sit in during the interview, and they'll decide which installers they really think are going to make a big difference and really help out the community. And then they'll help select that installer. And that installer then will work with the grassroots volunteers. So it's really kind of a neighbor-to-neighbor program, but the planning commission just helps facilitate it for the so really, there's no role for you in town government. All we're looking for is saying, yeah, this is a good thing for you can.
What happens if that whole process goes forward and there's a solar installer selected and all these workshops happen? And so a homeowner comes to them, likes the idea, and then finds another solar installer that's not the one that was selected through the RFP process.
Anybody can pick any installer they would like to go.
And what is the benefits to the one that was the installer that was selected? Do they become eligible now for grants that another solar installer would not then be eligible to apply for in town?
No, that's a good question. The reason why the solar installers would want to, submit a bid and be selected is because they can then count on all this additional marketing within the community to help them with their lower pricing for residences and businesses. So they think it's a really great marketing.
I would imagine.
Yeah, and in fact, that's the whole purpose of it, is to help promote it from a marketing standpoint. And their pricing reduction is based on, the level of marketing that they can anticipate in your.
And do they pay the Southern Hampshire Planning Commission anything as part of this?
Well, the way the funding would be set up is there's a $1,000 application fee, which goes to pay for a lot of the marketing materials, the RFP process, signs, banners, things like that. And there is an additional fee for getting the program up and running within the community. And then they are reimbursed that fee at the end of the program. And then there is a fee for every lead that's actually generated through the website. There's a website set up for the community, and people can apply through the website, or they can submit a lead directly through the volunteers or through the solar installer. So the installers end up actually paying for their participation. There's no fee charged to a resident business or additional beyond what the solar installer have to kind of ante up to be part of the program.
When you talk about the grassroots committee, where does that come from? Is there a responsibility of the board or something to find these volunteers?
No, it's basically Angela will be your key contact within the community, and she'll work with other interested people. I know Naomi was interested in it. Other town residents, the schools are a great resource for distributing information, holding workshops, the library.
They do it in Washington, the town of
Whoever,
Washington's
whoever thinks, oh, this is a great idea, and they'd like to kind of help participate and volunteer. It's all volunteer based. Like I said, it's
piqued the curiosity of, I think, Angela and I had a conversation that I thought about it a long time ago. She's thought about it, and then it popped up on my email before I went anywhere.
I did too.
And then we had a conversation.
I've had somebody come out and look at it.
Because I was tired of getting interested.
I just had somebody come
And
out
then if
a
we
while
can
ago.
also kind of cooperatively work with Francistown and New Boston, it also kind of leaves some of that coordination burden, and also just, again, if we have an informational session in Weare, and then when we stagger that many communities, it gives people just more opportunity to get that information.
I think there was a plus too if you could work together, because Francistown was successful the first time around. They want to do it again.
Right.
So then you could pick up from where they were successful, and we could feed off each other as well. I mean, I know lots of people that are interested in the solar
So what do we need the board to do?
Just
Well,
give us-
there's a simple application, we just need your vote to endorse, say, okay, this is good for the community, it's got a lot of benefits, and to have Naomi sign it, basically. And then that officially gives us the information when we meet with the solar installers tomorrow, to let them know that the town of Weare would like to see it happen. It's not the town doing it, so it's just these community volunteers doing it. That's a big difference. But
That's why I'm curious as to why you need a vote of the Board of Selectmen.
I don't think you need a vote, I think you just need the
just a nod,
approval,
yeah.
so that I can sign this for.
I'm sorry, what?
Are you getting information on the town residents to solicit?
He has a lot of the information, but
I'm not sure I understand your
Are we going to be using town records and information to solicit the residents for this program?
No, there's going to be a mass
you can just go
mailing
box holder like we do it.
through the post office.
Doesn't have to go individually.
Yeah, we're not using town
Yeah.
records. No, there's no town information.
What does the application look like? What's it say on it?
Just of the name, the contact person, the representative, which would be two of us, and a signature.
There's a lot more text on there than just that, and that's the
Just
bottom
talks-
line of a packet.
Well, this is the whole, how it all works.
Right.
The workshops and the outreach campaigns.
I personally would like to read it before I vote on it. We don't have to vote on it tonight, do we? Is there a
Well,
deadline or
he's
anything?
gonna meet tomorrow.
We would like to know tonight if possible, that's why I'm here.
Oh, well, when was it
Well,
known
it
that?
was just before I left for vacation. You couldn't have fit it in anyway, because your meeting was here.
Okay, so I mean,
Because you didn't meet last Monday, so.
yeah, right.
I don't think we need a formal vote. It's just
Well, I
whether or
think
not.
we do to approve Naomi to sign the
It
application.
doesn't cost anything, though. There's no
there's no
cost.
cost.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know what we're agreeing to unless I were to read it, that's all.
Well, we're agreeing to what he just told us. Jack's not coming here for the first time as a stranger.
No, I understand
He's been
that.
working for many, many years for our planning board.
I did want to thank you for the traffic study that you'll be doing on Thorndike for us.
So there's really no agreement per se in terms of you endorsing the program. It's really just your thoughts that this is a worthwhile thing for your community. That's all we're doing. There's no agreement, it's just
Yeah, I mean, it's
basically,
15 or 20 pages.
yeah, the information in the beginning is for the town volunteers and others
Right,
to understand
volunteers.
how the program works.
How to make a successful
So when's
campaign.
you said you're meeting tomorrow?
Yeah, the actual proposals from the solar installers are due this Friday. We've had out, we're meeting with the installers to kind of go through all of the technical aspects of the proposal tomorrow morning.
For the other towns you mentioned?
Yeah, for the other towns, and we'd like to let them know whether Weare would be participating. Because that way they can then include Weare in their proposal.
If we were to, I'm just asking, if we were to postpone the decision until Monday the 20th, would you then tell them that Weare is considering it, and what would the consequences be?
Yeah, we would indicate that you're considering it, that you want to delay your decision until the 20th. And then we would then have to ask them to come back and submit an amended bid. If you did decide that you want to say that it would be okay to have this program. And their amended bid then would reflect the additional.
Would include what? Additional what?
An amended bid on the they would have to submit an amendment.
To include where?
Yeah.
Now, I guess I'm thinking from the perspective of the solar company, would their amended bid, if we were to include where, probably be more attractive and be lower?
Yes, you're bigger than New Boston, Francis. It would be much more attractive where.
I would think so.
I don't know if somebody's interested in making a motion, but
I don't really see any harm in going ahead with it. It's basically giving people information about solar energy and costs and so forth, and we're not deciding for anybody. We're just putting out information as part of a regional effort. I don't see a problem with it.
I just don't fully understand exactly the details of it, so I would be hesitant tonight. Maybe after reading it, I would be in full endorsement, but.
I know I've looked at the solar just recently. I'm still mulling it over, but if it can be done in the cheap, because being in a cooperative, basically is what you're saying, it's a cooperative with other towns, that we're gonna have our name attached to it, it'll be less cost involved in it, to the people who decide to do it. I'm all for it. Because I'm also very sick of paying so much for electric bills in today's newspapers that Eversource is looking to hit us again, so.
I'll put out a motion, and we'll see where it goes. I move that we allow the town administrator to sign the agreement for this solar up New Hampshire program with Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 No. Not no to the idea, but no because I don't know enough about it.
And I'll send this whole package to you, and you guys can read it, I think, and then I'll let you take it from there.
Nothing for us to take from there.
No, I'm just saying, you can read it and maybe you want to do it.
Oh, I'll still
yourself.
read it, yeah.
I think you may like it after you read it.
Sure,
Yeah.
I probably would.
You might.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good things to happen this summer.
Let the sun keep shining.
Yeah. Something.
Next up is approval of meeting minutes from
Yeah, last
5/16.
minutes from last meetings.
You did what?
I didn't get a copy of all the last meetings minutes.
Did she send them out?
Yeah, they were on the website.
I didn't even see them on my emails.
Does he want mine?
Mine.
Oh, Jack didn't look at it, he said.
No, I haven't looked at them.
I
I
only
didn't
found
see them, so.
one error in the whole thing.
Yeah, I had the 16th and I lost them. So we were gonna look at them last time.
Yeah, 16 I have.
I forgot the
I have
16th at
several things
home.
on the
I was looking
16th.
for the others.
23rd, I only had one change.
Which one we going over? 16th,
Well, 16th is first.
Okay.
16th, I would just suggest that SNU be written out as Southern New Hampshire Planning Commission, because it doesn't refer...
SNU?
Isn't that
SNU is Southern New Hampshire University.
But it should be.
SNH, it says.
Yeah, it says SNH.
What's it supposed to say here?
Read it.
Traffic study isn't
Yeah, Southern New Hampshire.
University.
Southern New Hampshire Planning
Southern New
Commission.
Hampshire.
Southern New Hampshire.
SNHPC.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, just write it right out.
I will.
And then I thought it was a little confusing on the River Road Bridge, where it starts, the state. It said worked on the bridge, and that's not true. The state supported
Funded
bridge
a portion.
replacement in 1997. Therefore, additional funds to do some maintenance are not available. So I changed the wording of that because the state didn't work on the bridge. The state
Provided some funding.
provided.
80-20 funding.
So should we say provided funding?
Yeah, they're probably part of the bridging program.
Right,
Yeah.
but they did more than lend support.
Yeah.
Well,
Go where?
Financial support,
financial
yeah.
support.
Okay, so we'll go through
Well, I don't
the
want
page first.
Yeah, that's what I
to do a
figured.
deep discussion of it, but it says therefore they cannot provide additional funds. So it's kind of
Yeah.
the same thing.
Hmm.
Provided funding.
We tabled this. So we tabled minutes in 516. Which ones did we table?
Okay, the state provided funding in 1997, therefore, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
So if they put it ineligible to provide additional funding?
Right.
Yep.
Anybody else have anything on page 1?
Page 1, under work session, second paragraph, Hodgson's misspelled.
How is that spelled?
Hodgdon.
H-O-D-G-D-O-N.
There's an S.
E-O-N?
D-O-N.
D-O-N.
Say it again.
HODGDON.
Correct.
D-O-N.
D-O-N.
Hodgson.
Putting it all over the place.
It's not, it's Hodgson, not the son of Hodge.
That's all I had. Page 1.
Page 2?
Page 2, third paragraph, I just, there is $23,000 in the Bridge Improvement Capital Reserve Fund. Period.
Period.
It doesn't say necessarily for the bridge, because it wouldn't be for the bridge
Hmm.
necessarily. That's what's in the fund. I just crossed out for the bridge.
I think I remember that. Having the
Where it
same-
goes, we'll have to cross that bridge when we come to
Anything else on page 2?
it. Sorry. I didn't have anything else.
That it?
Just a question. It says we tabled meeting minutes on the meeting of 516.
Table to next meeting.
Must have been the minutes of not,
Of 5.
Yeah.
the one before it.
Yeah.
Are you on the 23rd then?
No,
No.
no, 16th. Says we,
5-9.
says we table
Yeah,
in the next meeting.
Is there one to Mary Ann?
No, he's saying on the 16th,
On the
we
16th.
we tabled reviewing the meeting of,
Yeah, just
The
says
9th?
table till next meeting.
Where are you, Rick? I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Page
under
2,
minutes.
under meeting minutes, it says table till next meeting.
So you should say table May 9th meeting minutes until next meeting?
Did
Must-
we?
probably what it was.
Yeah.
Well, let's look at the 23rd and see if we looked at the 9th.
Yeah, it's gonna be the 23rd, and the 9th.
Which meeting are you talking about in the book?
The 23rd?
Potentially
I thought we
the
did
9th.
I thought we tabled the
Yeah, we
16th.
approved the 9th minutes on the
Okay.
Yeah.
23rd.
So,
Okay,
so on the
so-
16th, we tabled the minutes of the 9th.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Should we clarify that?
Yeah, because May 16th of the table to next meeting.
Okay.
Okay. Move we approve the minutes of
Mason.
the May 16th as amended.
Second.
Second, oh, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 523, are there enough people that looked at 523 minutes?
The only thing I changed in the whole thing was changing Brian to Bruce. Under guests, it was Bruce Fillmore.
I haven't looked at them.
It should have gone out last week,
Yeah, I looked at it. See him in my email.
as I came in Thursday
You
evening
3 days ago.
through the agenda, and I went through.
I got the agenda.
I can't definitively say I didn't get them.
I didn't see him, and yeah.
Okay.
I may have and just missed them.
I got them off the website, not out of the.
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
it 3 days ago.
No, I didn't go on the website.
Well, then we'll table them, I guess.
The table in the minutes.
Oh,
523.
523.
So the meeting minutes of June 6th will say that we tabled
No.
meeting minutes of 523.
Okay.
Okay, manifest. I move we order the treasurer to sign the accounts, payables, and payroll checks dated June 9th, 2016, as included in the following manifest. Payroll manifest of $47,209.38 for weekly payroll, including payroll taxes. A forest fire payroll manifest of $213.70 for an incident date of May 22nd, 2016. An accounts payables manifest of $183,021.86. A supplemental accounts payables manifest of $10,024.70. A Weare School District manifest of $717,804 for June 2nd, 2016 appropriations, for a total of $958,273.64. The following manifests were previously ordered to sign at the May 23rd, 2016 Board of Selectmen meeting. Payroll manifest of $41,868.48 for weekly payroll check date June 2nd, 2016. A fire department payroll manifest of $10,792 for the May 2016 monthly payroll. And as there is no selectmen meeting scheduled for Monday, June 13th, 2016, we order the treasurer to sign payroll checks dated June 16, 2016, estimated to be about $50,000. Furthermore, to order the treasurer to sign up to the amount of $40,000 for accounts payables that cannot wait until the next scheduled meeting of June 20th, 2016, without incurring late charges or interest. Reports and actual check amounts will be reported to the Board of Selectmen by inclusion on the manifest memo at the next scheduled meeting, like they were in this one. Second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I have a couple things. Do you want me to go through my report, or do you want to address what Lori had for a question before we get into my report? Oh, other business you said, sorry.
Other business I have written down, firing range and noise ordinance.
Right. I have 2 junkyard license certificates, one for Allied Auto Wrecking and one for Weare Body and Frame, that they filled out their license. They've supplied with a payment for the license, as well as, I think Chip went and checked on it, I don't have the sign off, but I know Chip brought them back upstairs to me for signature, so it would be a traditional junkyard license, so there's the 2 places, we only have 2, Weare Body and Allied. That just requires 5 of you. And the second thing, those will be combined. The second thing I have is, we agreed on April 18th at a selectmen's meeting to accept the terms of the hazard mitigation program that the fire chief did through the emergency management. There's a cover letter that had to go with the matching funds to Parker Moore. It says this letter authorizes as the town of Ware's commitment to meet the matching fund requirements for updating our hazard mitigation plan. The letter includes the additional signatures required by your office. On April 18th, the town of Ware Board of Selectmen, the majority voted, accepted the terms of the hazard mitigation grant program as presented in the amount of $6,000 to update the community hazard mitigation plan. Further, the board acknowledges the cost of the program will be $8,000, of which the town will be responsible for a 25% match of $2,000, which can be provided in cash or as kind and or soft dollar contribution, which I think generated a lot of discussion about. The intent is that it's going to be the hours, the match of the hours of 2,000. They've asked, Chief Azina has signed it as the fire chief of EMD. They've asked that the chairman, the vice chair, and the town administrator sign the letter that was, this wording came from them, put on the letterhead. So where it doesn't require everyone, it would clearly require a motion. Which Jack is looking for Tom's and Keith's. So I'm gonna have to make a motion for that authorization, because there's not 3 of you, it's 2 of you plus me on the line.
I'll make a motion that we accept the grant under the Hazardous Mitigation Grant Program as presented in the amount of $6,000. And there will be a 25% match of $2,000 from the town will be responsible for a total of $8,000.
Authorize.
And authorize that Chairman Lacasse and Vice Chairman Clow and the town administrator are authorized to sign it.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
No.
He's in the no mood tonight.
Capital Reserve, there's a check in the payables for some sand, beach sand from Chester Towns. The cost of that was $400, so it didn't need $500 for 3 quotes. So it was paid, but she wants to still take it from here, so the motion would still be coming out of the Chase Park erosion part of the money that was in the town meeting. So that's why the authorization would be to take the $400 out of.
Naomi.
Are you taking a note of?
Well, someone will have to make that motion. Tom's signing, but.
There you go.
I move that we approve $400 for sand for Chase Park to be taken from the Chase Park Repair Maintenance Capital Reserve Fund.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
One more thing before I get to my report. There was a bunch of stuff that went to the auction at the state, of which we got $1,065.06, which will go into the general fund as unanticipated revenue. One of the items you're gonna see on this list is the radar trailer. The radar trailer was unfixable, and it was sent over to, they couldn't get parts anymore, so it was sent over there. I questioned that, because I got the check and opened it up, and the radar trailer was on there, and I'm like, we get rid of the radar trailer without, so I don't know how you wanna, said it was not fixable, couldn't get parts for it.
Again, isn't there something, I think I remember reading in our purchasing policy about getting rid of stuff?
Disposal of property.
No, somebody already bought it, I'm just informing you, I just.
I understand, but I think, I
It
don't
was,
remember what it was, but it should be pointed
There
out.
was, some bikes,
Some holsters.
some holsters, 2 paintball helmets, gun cases, sirens, speakers.
How was that? I saw the town wearing some of
Safety
this stuff.
jackets, home security system and monitor, and a crate of security cameras and sensors. We had $35 and $10, and I'll pass it around, I just wanted you to be aware that we took the stuff to auction, so less the 3% commission that they get. We ended up with $1,065.06. What did you tell me? 1065.06. Just wanted you to be aware.
Is it all coming from the PD?
It all came from the PD.
Is it like stuff that was
I asked where the bikes came from, and he had no idea they were in the storage shed. Not sure where the bikes came from. So
what about the home security?
I mean, is this stuff that's like was at one point like
I think we have to have
stuff
a
from
large discussion
cases
on the
and
20th with that, because I think
Anything that's taken out of like a court case, you have
Yeah.
you have to have a court order to destroy it.
Yeah.
So you have to get a judge's order,
You
and
don't
at
take- you
and
can't
at
just
that,
take it
you don't
over.
sell it after
No,
a
you-
certain number of
no.
years?
no, you have to have a court order to sell the stuff or destroy it. This is, I would say, by the looks of it, one of them is a black Trek police bike, so it might have been a bike that belonged, that said police bike.
Somebody decided 60 square miles is not right for a bike.
Yeah. You know, they've got a black gun case or a box lot of safety jackets, whatever that would be. Could be old raincoats or something that they. Instead of throwing away, they get money
So I
from
just
it.
wanted, you guys can share the, you pass it down, make you aware of that. I'll go back to my list, now that I gave you, government buildings. I didn't do anything with the doors, but, Clinton Grove Academy, they're starting this week painting.
Yeah, I saw Timmy around today.
Yeah, I saw the first third of the payment.
Yeah. The DPW garage is going out for rebids. I've already gotten several people interested in rebidding, much better time frame,
Good.
some of the bigger. So we'll see what that brings for August 1st. I did give you, I don't want to say what the price is, I guess, because I did get an email. You got one bid on the town hall stuff. It's in front of you there. I did get a request from one of the contractors stating that he hasn't received the quotes for the window components of the town hall. He needs at least another week to work on it. He's identified the problem with the gazebo, and then it says, have the selectmen considered hiring a general contractor to coordinate, spec out required work, and supervise? So he needs a little more time. So before we announce what these prices were on this one sheet, do you want to give a little more time? I know we gave May 31st. And then these back are just pictures, some old pictures. Look at. But the price was broken out on the one bid that you got in the 4 components on the 3rd sheet.
Yep.
So there's different.
So this is the only bid we got? The others that showed up and walked the site just changed their minds, weren't interested?
Well, we've got one that
We got one that
is going to, but needs more time to
he
get
needs to get
prices on the
back from the
windows.
window component guy.
Did they have a price for the gazebo?
No, he just said he's identified the problem and it's unsafe. Nothing to do that.
Well, that's why we asked them to look at it.
Right. So I'm just, but he needs a little more time. So do you want to grant more time, even though there wasn't that? That's why I said I don't want to announce any numbers. Do you want to grant more time?
I'd like to get more bids back.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, then I guess we'll see where we are on the 20th.
Yeah, now, the concern about the gazebo, making it usable for Old Home Day and everything, we could, I still, under the opinion, we could brace that if we had to, because if the repairs weren't done in time.
Yeah. I mean, I would think either, and you'd be more knowledgeable bracing it from the inside, but even a couple of cases from the outside to make sure, figure out which way it was moved.
Yeah.
Well, and the one bid that you got talks about what the proposal is from that.
Yeah,
one.
aligned roof with base, raised roof, supply and install new columns, fiberglass replacements, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. That's one proposal.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying that's.
The way I understand it, it's taking the entire roof off,
This one,
lifting it
the
up
one
and
that you got.
lifting it up in the air and rebuilding from the deck up to the roof.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll wait and see what 2 weeks brings, and then we'll have to decide what we're gonna do, because
Yep.
it's gonna get away from us.
Yep,
so.
yep.
But I'll take on the other, but I'll give you time to decipher this as well. The, I gave you a new May 31st capital reserve balances in your mailboxes.
Yep.
No through trucking, I'm gonna skip the policy ones, because we'll talk about that under other business. The no through trucking, I haven't been up that way, is the counters out? Were they out?
I didn't see
I was up there and to be honest with you, I didn't even
Because they were gonna
notice.
put, some in, they were gonna put some in from Hodgson, and then some in from, because you can go.
I
in
came
different
up from Reservoir and I didn't see
Right,
any,
well,
so
it's
now I'm thinking
anticipated
about
that
it.
they're gonna put them all out there with the idea behind the ones that are censored with the weight to tell you the axles are not, she said that they weren't 100% foolproof, which I guess nothing's 100%.
Nothing, yeah.
So she said, let's put it out there for a couple of weeks, we'll run the data and see what we get. So that's what I'm kind of looking for, but we had to put it in a couple of different locations, because you can come on from Hodgdon, and then you can go to Flanders. So we put one coming on Hodgdon, and then we put one at the beginning, it's supposed to be, I think, at the beginning of Thorndike, and then also at the other to see if they're just coming one and not going through. So she's putting them in a few different locations, just so we can compare times and data.
Sure, yeah.
Just to have that. So
Find
I
out
think
where
it's-
where people are
Yeah,
going.
so where 3 or 4 of them, I think, were being put out.
Yeah, I went.
So just, it may take more than a few
I went
days.
up
but as soon as I
Reservoir
can-
last week and
But we
last
have
week,
connected,
Friday
and
was
that's
the
what
day.
we're gonna do, is put out.
I didn't notice anything over the weekend on.
And she
on-
might have
you did?
waited.
On,
Yeah,
on Thorndike?
On
Okay, I
Thorndike?
knew she was gonna wait
Okay.
till after
And I
the
went up-
holiday weekend, so it
I know
didn't
I went to
skew it.
Reservoir last week and it wasn't from Quaker to Reservoir, and I didn't see one there, so.
So it'll be interesting, because I knew she wanted to
Yeah.
wait after the long weekend, just so it
Yeah.
doesn't skew it for extra traffic.
Yeah.
Transfer station fees, Beth sent you guys late this afternoon along with me. She gave you an email that indicated the revenues, the expenses, and it also had a nice, if you guys look at it, the cruiser one she's tracking.
Mhm.
That was a really nice one she's put together, and then also the transfer station that came to you guys in the email. But it wasn't till like 4 or something.
Okay, I wouldn't have seen it.
Late.
So that's in the email, it's not here.
No, it's in an email, but
Yep.
you've got 4 attachments,
Yep.
and it's got the transfer station, it's got the car expenses to date, and it's got the revenue and the receipts. Revenue expenses. The social media one I didn't get a chance to put together, which I will have for the 20th. And then I had signed up for, I know I was out last week, but I'd signed up for the conference on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, so.
Yeah, when you said that, I got an email from
Mary?
New Hampshire Municipal saying, I'm signed up for the one on Friday, but they haven't been paid yet, so I don't know.
Yeah, it's probably in there, though.
Okay, that's what I wanted to know, if there had
Because
been.
you know what the confusion was? One was done through another company.
LTAP, yeah. One of them was like in July, and I said, I
One
didn't.
wasn't done through the municipal, one was done through the T-Squared Center.
Yeah, well, I saw the one at T-Square, and they said that July, and I was looking.
So now that
Okay.
brings us down to the noise ordinance and other, which we can talk about under,
Yep, other business. But right now, we're back at public comment.
Yep.
Any other public comment?
Okay.
All right. Correspondence. Anybody have any correspondence? Okay, other business. So we'll just go over what we've done with firing range and noise ordinance. So we met in May, right?
June.
You would have met the first time in May, because I couldn't make it. It was-
Yep.
Right, what was the date? I'm gonna talk about noise ordinance
26th.
first.
I think it's May 26th.
The noise one? The noise one you would have met on the 25th.
And that was a Wednesday?
Yeah, and you met on Tuesday for the firing range.
Right, the
because-
next night, we met again for the firing. So the noise ordinance
It's
one,
on Tuesday.
No, the firing range was first. It's Tuesday. The noise was second on
okay,
Wednesday.
we'll start with firing then.
Okay.
Yeah, you met the 24th.
So first before we get into it, I guess I assumed that our meetings were being posted.
I had said I just got you guys a meeting and I didn't post the first
I
one.
didn't
And
post
then
them.
I was on
I think-
vacation. I
Did you
apologize.
post them?
I posted the sound ordinance.
So now that we have our meetings, one of the first orders of business of the first meeting was to pick a regular meeting schedule. So now that we've done that, we really should post those.
Yep. And do you have those, just so I can do those?
Well, okay, so the first was a firing range. We were tentatively scheduled to meet on the 10th at the Goffstown Fishing Game Club, which they're not available that day, correct?
Correct.
So our next meeting was going to be the 24th to discuss our findings or what we learned from visiting the Goffstown Fishing Game, but I don't know when we're going to be available to meet them. Did they give you any idea, Lori, when they could?
They're having a meeting in the next week, and they will bond and chat and
So you'll
The
know,
24th is tentative then.
the 24th is tentative, hopefully maybe we can meet on June 17th out there.
Hopefully.
So, can you let Naomi know, well, the whole group know as soon as you, like you did, to let us know that we couldn't meet on the 10th?
Right.
So Lori will let
Okay.
the whole group and you know when we're gonna meet at the gun club.
Okay.
And then we can post that as a meeting.
Now, the gun, Dick raised a question about, I didn't watch it, I don't have cable. I saw the minutes, so is the idea to bring forth a plan, correct? Is that your idea?
The idea was to look at all of it, to pull together maybe a plan on improvements at the firing range, at the transfer station, to pull together some discussion about possible funding sources.
Yeah.
The hopes are maybe that most, if not even all, of the costs come from another funding source or people who are interested in getting it done. These were just ideas that were
Yeah.
kicked around at the first
But the
meeting.
intent is to come back with a warrant.
The intent
so-
is at the end of this, to have a warrant article to bring to the Board of Selectmen to discuss and either recommend or not recommend to put on the warrant.
Okay.
I have-
So, go
Are
ahead.
you still on the firing range?
I am.
Okay, go ahead. When you finish
Okay.
reviewing the minutes.
I don't have the minutes with me.
I mean, whatever you did there. I don't want to butt in. I have a couple of things to add
Okay.
concerning that.
The firing range?
Yeah.
Okay. Minutes were written. I think I got a day of the week wrong on the minutes, so that can just be fixed. And can we post minutes too, even draft minutes?
Yeah.
And then post finished
Now,
minutes when they're...
question, Marietta, do you want its own, it's really a subcommittee of the selectmen, it's really not its own committee,
Right.
which I think is why you don't interview just like you don't for CIP.
Can it be put,
CIP is a subcommittee.
can it just be put under the Board of Selectmen's
that's what you
page
want,
then?
is a separate,
Like a little separate tab.
I could try to do a separate.
I mean, you've got precedent for that. We don't interview members of the CIP because it's a subcommittee of the planning board.
Right.
Yeah, but when you were looking,
But
but when you were
look
looking,
on the
yeah,
website,
but when you were
we
looking,
did make
yeah.
a CIP subcommittee, and they have their own agenda, they have their own minutes and
Well,
their
you were
own
looking to
members.
have a subcommittee to look for police chief. I mean, you did interviews, so I mean, you did some and not others.
Yeah, well, we did on those ones because I think we had a big group of people, and we were thinking we were maybe gonna narrow it down.
I think to keep a consistency, the process would be it's a subcommittee of something, it stays on that tab.
Yeah.
You know, there's a
Yeah.
section on the side, we can have,
I mean, you can't.
you know, the final.
You're talking about the website. I think Jack was talking about why didn't we interview?
Well, yeah, but I'm
period.
saying you sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. I think you got to keep it one way or the other because I mean, like you said, when you were
You know,
looking for a
Jack, you are
police
part
chief-
of the you now too, so.
Yeah, I know. But, I mean, but when meaning all of us, when we do this, but we should do it in a keep it consistent.
Sure,
Because,
yep.
like I said, when it came to like looking for the police chief before Sean got picked, it was like, okay, we're gonna have a meeting. You know, we had a subcommittee type thing. You were selecting people and interviewing, and I think that it here in the selectmen's meeting, and I think I think that's where it's probably going. Sometimes we do something, so I think we have to be a little more consistent.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, that was, and that was a Tim, that was a Tim, oh, we want to talk to you about being on the committee. Yeah, okay, come down, it's like, oh, you're on the committee. I go, oh, okay, you know.
Yeah, I guess I look at the committees like the highway garage, like the firing range, like noise. These are all committees to look at potential warrant articles where we're looking to hire a department head. It's maybe a little different than these.
Yeah, I see a difference too. You know, especially with the police chief, when we wanted to reach out to the community and get a broad cross-section.
Well, you're reaching out to the community in this to get a broad,
Well,
well, you're not getting the broad cross-section according to
No, but we
Mr.
reached
Butt.
out and we invited basically everybody who responded. We invited them all.
Yeah.
Right.
And said, come on down.
So you're reaching out in the same thing to get a community out.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
would we turn away some people who were interested in the firing range because they're for it? Or because the noise ordinance people are against it, we turn them away? We did open it up. There were people who were
Oh,
in
I'm not
favor
saying
of
that,
a
I'm just
noise
saying what
ordinance who
was
wanted to
brought
come
up,
down,
that he's-
and they didn't show up.
Right.
I mean,
So-
I don't know what to do about that. I know for a fact there were people that were on the list that I was kind of waiting for them to walk through the door, and they never did. So
Take it off. I guess the only other way around that would be to take an oral roll call, and if they didn't answer, I guess they didn't come. So that way, it's on the record that way.
Right.
I'd rather not do that.
But
Yeah, I think that, I
it's a double-edged sword, I guess, one way or the other.
it is, because, I mean, I can even backtrack on what I just said and say, well, balance is important. That's what our speaker was getting at earlier, is to find some balance on a committee that has a controversial nature to it.
But again, if somebody was not in favor of improvements to the firing range, we didn't turn them away. It was open to anybody who's interested in the topic. And the people who responded after seeing the advertisement either on the website, or I think it was exclusively the website maybe.
Yeah, that's kind of what I.
Everybody who was invited, told when the meeting was, and they all came down.
We've talked about it several times here.
And again, it's open to the public. So, let's get them on the calendar so that cable knows.
Yeah.
I was ignorant of the workings of the cable.
And I guess, we were picking something to get a kickoff started, and I think we hurried up, and those were the couple available months, a couple available dates.
Yep. And then and that was an objection by somebody that was part of, I don't remember which one it was, 'cause they're blending together in my mind, maybe the noise ordinance, right. There was somebody who came who objected to the fact that it was being broadcast. And they were not forced to come sit at the table. We pretty much accommodated their comments, even though they were sitting in the back row off camera. I think if we were to do that in the future, I would at least ask the mic to be brought over so that their voice can be heard. But
And they wait till they
the
get
door's open. Our meetings are going to be posted, so anybody can come, dissenters or not. And just because somebody's not listed on the group that came to the first meeting, I don't believe that either one of the groups would not listen to input from anybody.
Still
So,
an open public meeting. If you want
so that's where we are with the firing range. We're holding out on when we're going to meet.
A couple of comments on it. First, I do understand what was being said about feasibility study. And I think that should be part of the discussion. Is it feasible to have a firing range on public land? With all of the ramifications of that. So it should go beyond just the planning of a firing range, but that should be part of the discussion. The other thing is the financing. If we do come forth with a warrant article, there is a CIP policy, and anything over $15,000, that's why things like the improvements to Bolton Field or the improvements to the Chase Park and so forth go through CIP because it's a $15,000. So when you come out with a plan that goes above the $15,000 mark of public money, then it should go through CIP.
And when's the deadline to get before that?
We don't usually start until August.
Well, that's quick.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but
we
you-
run it through
Yeah, but
October.
it runs further than that. The other thing that was brought up by the chairman of the CIP that we should consider, and we don't have to make a decision tonight, but he asked, why do we not go through CIP for our government building and maintenance article? Because that's always more than the 15,000, and traditionally we have not, and that's all I could say is traditionally we have not. It's
And
just
that's
an
what I would
article.
have wanted, but you're right, because we usually are gathering prices for we're usually gathering projects to make a bigger project.
But I think that discussion, it doesn't have anything to do with the firing range, but it tied in with the CIP issue, that we should make a decision on that, whether, it is a variety too. I mean, that's another way you can look at it. It's not one project, it's a variety of projects, and some of them.
it's the maintenance more than anything.
But I don't think it's a bad idea at all. I think it's a good idea.
But then again, too, if we know we're gonna have one set goal for the next year, it might not be a bad idea to.
Yeah.
To
So I'm tossing
include
that out
one
because it was brought to me, as, why aren't we doing it that way for that when we do for other big expenditures?
So what did you have to say about the firing range?
Just the two things, and that is if there's a warrant article and it's about $15,000, we go through the CIP, the same as any other recreational one would. And the other thing was that feasibility issue. You know, and with me, and this is not new to you, but the issue of having a firing range on public land has always been questionable to me.
And I would have to agree with Tom that it's a feasibility study again, and I think it should start at the point of, is it feasible for the town to have it? A, and second, okay, if that subcommittee deems it yes it is, then the planning phase takes place. And I think that was the intent of the redraft of the warrant article.
Was that this year's?
It's hard. I mean, yeah, we can read.
35 feet.
Yeah, we can read that one until it's blue in the face. I don't remember offhand what was actually presented in the conversation at the time that the warrant was changed.
Well, it does say in the actual warrant article, I'll read the whole thing, it's short. Shall the town establish a feasibility study committee for the purpose of making safety and operational improvements to the town's firing range located behind the transfer station? Question mark. The committee shall develop a plan and cost of the project. Doesn't say whether the committee should decide whether a plan and cost should be developed. It says the committee shall develop a plan and cost for the project.
Yeah, then the description.
And then the description says the warrant article will set up a committee to study what it would take to reconstruct, make safety improvements to, and estimate the costs associated with the upgrades to the town firing range so that it can be reopened for the Weare residents to use. The expectation would be to create a warrant article for the 2017 ballot. I think that's consistent with what we're doing.
Don't you think there should be a discussion of the liability associated with it, whether there should be range officers present?
That's part of the discussion, absolutely. Yeah. And it was in the first meeting and will continue to be. Are we good with the update on the firing range committee?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Noise ordinance met that Wednesday, next Wednesday, following Wednesday, whatever date that was. And what?
Would have been the 25th.
Okay.
Yeah.
With May.
That was your original meeting on the 25th.
Okay. At that meeting, we, Lori Davis volunteered to chair that group. So Lori's chairing that group. And we had decided, or the group had decided to meet again on Wednesday the 1st and invite the police department to come down and discuss whether or not... Oh, wait.
Shady hands on that accident.
I'm on it. Good, continue.
Okay. All right. So we met, and then we picked the next meeting date. And the next meeting date, we decided that we were going to, because there was questions about the RSA, that the RSA for, I think it's disturbing the peace. Maybe
Disorderly conduct.
The question was, why do we need a noise ordinance if we have an RSA in the state law that already deals with this issue, or is there redundancy? We did go around the table and everybody introduce themselves and talk a little bit about why they were here. I think we did that for, I don't know if we did it for firing range. I know we did it for the noise ordinance. And yeah, the sentiment from most people was we wish we wouldn't need one, or we don't, well, me included, and I'm the one that brought this thing up a couple of years ago, but I did say I wish we didn't ever even have to discuss this. I wish people would just be courteous neighbors, and if we had that, we wouldn't even be talking about this or considering it, and it's unfortunate that we are. If that can be construed as me being against a noise ordinance, so be it. I'm not sure if I'm against or for noise ordinance. Personally, on my road, it's not an issue, but people have reached out and talked about firing ranges and talked about fireworks, and those really pretty much are, as was stated tonight, the two main issues.
And there's laws against fireworks.
There was another main issue that came in from some people who called, and that is the loud music.
And we did talk about that too, yeah. Yep.
That was generated for special
Weddings.
occasions, yeah.
Yep. So the group agreed to meet on Wednesday the 1st, even though I said I won't be there. Maybe that's why they agreed to meet on the 1st. Celebrating my 20th wedding anniversary that day.
Congratulations.
So that meeting, we agreed that we were going to invite the PD to come and address the concerns that were raised regarding the state RSA. I reached out to Sean Kelly and asked if he or a representative from the PD could make it on June 1st, and he said he would be there. And I was glad to hear tonight that he was there. As far as the discussions that happened on June 1st, I'll ask Jen to fill us in.
I'm gonna have Laurie fill it. No, yeah, go ahead.
Yes.
She's the chair, she can talk.
Handoff routine.
Laurie Davis, Chairman of the Sound Ordinance Committee. We have made a decision to meet once a month because, as I stated earlier, there's a lot of concern about how we're going to proceed. Not a lot of us feel that there needs to be one, but there is a group of people that apparently is concerned. We asked the police chief for more data. We want to know when these calls are occurring, if they're in specific areas, how many calls we're getting, what time of the year, because as we discussed that night, Jennifer was there. If we're getting 100 calls a year, that doesn't, in our opinion, we didn't think it really generated us getting involved with something like that, because then you're putting in an ordinance for a very tiny microscopic group that you're throwing on top of everybody who's behaving well. So we really need to study to see where these are coming from and what they're doing. The police chief pointed out that right now, if they push it and they have to go and take this to court, their biggest problem is the people who have issues with their neighbors are not stepping up and owning their complaints. So that leaves the police department with nowhere to go in order to prosecute. As he felt, and the committee did agree, right now, if you have, it's under disorderly conduct. That follows your life's record forever. Neither our police chief or anybody on the committee felt that you should be followed forever because you made noise, blew up fireworks, had a wild party. We just didn't feel that that was necessary, so that was one thing we consider. The other thing is, again, there was the statement by the police chief that we have a group of people that either are not willing to or are afraid to step up and own what the problem is with their neighbors. So there is the question of, do you have to put in an ordinance for people who cannot stand up for themselves? And again, it comes, we're going to have to look at the numbers, because again, do you put in an ordinance on top of 9,000 people for 50? We're going to have to see, we don't know the numbers. Sean's going to have to compile it. A lot of the data we're asking for is not something to be a lot of time from them, so we're going to have to think about that. As, was it Dick that was up here earlier tonight mentioned, there is only one town in the state of New Hampshire, and I've been looking hard, that has a town-owned firing range.
He said 0, but
He says that he found 0.
You and I found one.
Seabrook.
Yes. And again, there's generally reasons for that. We're going to have to talk to Primex, because while they will insure anything,
I'm going to ask you, Lori, to
wind it up, shorten it
well,
down.
while we were talking about the noise
Noise
ordinance
ordinance.
committee,
Oh, sorry.
we were
it's
done with the
confusing.
firing range one.
But that's also the other thing that came up on the sound ordinance, though, Keith, is the question of, if you put in a firing range, are they going to try and tighten down on people shooting on their private property and try and force them to go to a range? That's a question that has come up on the sound ordinance. It also came up on the firing range.
I think on the firing range, when that issue came up, it was in hopeful that people would, if the firing range were a nice firing range, would voluntarily on their own give up their backyard makeshift range and go use the firing range.
Right, whereas with the sound
Not forcing
ordinance-
anybody to do anything.
Right, but the sound ordinance doesn't think quite that that's actually going to happen, but the question has come up.
Speculation.
So that's how they dovetail together. But because of that, we are not comfortable, we decided this the other night, in bringing forth any kind of ordinance to put to the selectmen, to bring to deliberative session, to put on a ballot. We think it's gonna take more than just a year to figure this out, because we need time to see what we've got and how much comes forward. And we just don't feel that 4 months is adequate. And really what happens in the summer due to vacationers, you can't really punish the rest of the town for the other 9 months of the year. So it's something where we're going to have to take time and balance with, and that's where we're sitting at right now.
Thank you.
We had done, just quite a bit of groundwork on this beforehand. It's not, sound ordinances are not a unique thing for towns to have. What we found is that most of the surrounding communities have some sort of a sound ordinance and noise ordinance. And we drew from that in coming up with a draft that was put before the voters, or tried to put before the voters. But we've already put it off for a year, so I question not having anything for this coming year. I'm not on the committee, and I'm not volunteering to be on the committee.
I guess it'll be something that comes up maybe at the next meeting, because I wasn't at that meeting. I would have strenuously argued against saying let's put it off for a year. If that's the case, what are we going to do this year? I mean,
there's a lot to be involved just because an adjoining town has an ordinance. To look at those adjoining towns in the ordinance, town of Hannica, town of, you have to look at historically a lot of these noise ordinances are hard to enforce, period. So the thing is you're going to enact an ordinance that you can't enforce, or is hard to enforce, or it's going to make it harder on the police. I would look and see what their enforcement rate is of it and how much success they have with it, and then that's going to tell you whether or not it's feasible to do that. And like some of it is, Lori said, and I'm sure the police chief said the same thing, some of it's reinventing the wheel, because you have state statutes that cover certain things like disorderly conduct for too much noise after certain hours. You also have, fireworks legislation that says you can't discharge fireworks. I mean, unless you have permits and so forth to do that.
But now we're talking criminal, right? So I think even the people that are opposed
it's a violation. Some of it's a violation.
So even the people that are opposed to the idea or concept of a noise ordinance, seems to me, would be interested in a noise ordinance just because of the fact that it's local. It's not a
It's still a
state
court. It
crime.
still goes on the record as town. If you look at the record, it'll go on. It goes adjudicated to a court. It goes on. Violation, fine, town ordinance. And that's what it shows on the record. There's remedies to expunge those from the records. Those are not crimes that can't be expunged from somebody's record. They're not felonies. They're unless you do some damage to the point where it's caused. You take fireworks, burn somebody's house down, and it could be reckless. Then at that point, yes, then it's a felony to stay with you. But at that point, you get remedies for that. So I mean, any ordinance or law is on your record, even a traffic ticket. So, they'll just say that you were cited for a town ordinance, what the fine would be, noise ordinance or whatever. Some towns have a noise ordinance for squealing tires, and that's what it's called, misuse of power or squealing of tires.
We had that in our draft one, and
but there's also state motor vehicle laws that cover the same.
They're long gone by then.
But, yeah, and the rubber's still on the road, but I mean, but yeah, it's, and there's some, there's all types of things. So I think sometimes, if you get too far afield, it's something you can write and legislate for the town, but you'll never be able to enforce it. So you've just wasted all that time and effort.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess that was part of what I was hoping the discussion with the chief would have addressed, and whether it did or not, I don't know.
So are you recommending that we just and I'm not trying to just say throw it together, but put something together for fireworks and backyard shooting
Me? You asking me?
as a group.
I think we should still tread lightly on it and look
I
at
would-
all the angles.
I would personally want to limit it to maybe that. But,
Yeah.
I mean, my first noise ordinance, I don't know if you remember, Tom, it was a slip of paper. Maybe
Yeah.
this is why. It didn't go too far, but that was.
What we found that most of the town ordinance that did exist just ended up quoting part of the state.
State statute.
State
So, I mean,
statute.
so you're reinventing.
But the difference, and this is how I interpreted what the chief was saying back when we had that large public forum, was that if you have something that's a local violation with a fine, people are more likely to come forward than if they have to go to court and testify. And it's
That's what
pushed
he
to
had
that
said.
point.
There's
That's what
nothing, if the person that gets cited contests it, the person who called it in is still gonna have to appear. The other advantage, I guess, if you wanna call it an advantage, or that can also be a double-edged sword, is that you can write the ordinance, and then the fine money from the ordinance goes back directly to the town coffer. That's one of the things of town ordinances, and if it does, then you can be also accused of just trying to fill the town's pockets with somebody's money on a town violation.
The other concern that came up with the committee is that we all acknowledge that both times that the sound ordinance has been brought up in the last 2 years, it has not done well.
It has never made it to the ballot.
That's right.
Well, okay.
So it hasn't done well.
Well, and the same thing could
So-
happen this year with either one of these, so I
The
think
committee
that's
does
not a
not
reason to
want
not bring
to-
it out.
The committee does not want to throw together an ordinance and look like a pack of fools that, oh, look, this group of people threw this ordinance together, they don't have their facts straight, they haven't got a good basis to recommend this, and then we don't want to walk around town trying to justify it. We need to make sure that what we stand up for is something we can back.
Well, that's why I think it's so important to have people on there that are initially questioning the need for one. Because if we write one that satisfies people with those concerns, and I share a lot of the concern. I mean, the concerns of adding more power to a government, or telling people what they can and can't do on their own property. Yeah, I share those concerns. But if we came up with a reasonable noise ordinance that protected the peace of people that just want to enjoy life, and also protected the rights of the people who want to shoot guns and celebrate special events, then I would think that would be a good thing to bring before the town. And I think that's why the fact that there are people there that are having reservations is a good thing, because if those people are satisfied with what we come up with, then it's probably a pretty good ordinance.
The one thing that did come up, and I think Jennifer will agree, is if we did nothing else with the sound ordinance, it would be that it would be a misdemeanor and not go on your record. That was the one reason that would.
Have to be a violation, because a misdemeanor goes on your record.
Worse. Misdemeanor is worse than violation.
Yeah, a violation still goes on your record, but it doesn't carry any weight, and it's nothing.
But that was the one thing that.
Like a traffic
we
ticket.
all agreed that would
we
be
didn't want it to be
maybe the
criminal.
only thing at this point, but.
Traffic
we're-
ticket search your
There's a
insurance.
concern.
It goes on your criminal record as a violation.
Thank you. Any other business?
Just one thing, Keith. The change here, I think we should check it out with Primex to see if it's acceptable before we change it.
Sure, that's fine.
You know, because it does, this is where it came from, statement of safety policy.
I just think 4 is impossible for us to comply with.
Well,
As
I'm
written.
just
Any of them
suggesting
are-
we.
Any of them aren't, anytime.
It says we're gonna enforce every single known safety.
We'll comply with all safety laws
Laws and regulations.
Do we
So
even
if it's
know
a
them?
law,
All.
Well, it's our responsibility to know the
Yeah.
law.
Under
I'm
the
gonna
labor
tell you
de-
what. I'm gonna bring this right back to the
And-
building code
and-
discussion.
And regulations.
Under the labor department.
And regulations,
They don't
be
care.
our regulations, be sure that and again, I'm not really arguing for or against what you're doing
Sure,
here.
sure.
I'm just saying that if I were Primex, I would be
Liability.
saying, you know, well, the law's the law,
Yeah.
And regulations would be the regulations that we establish.
Yeah.
Which means that our employees have a responsibility and we have a responsibility to
Okay.
enforce those
So then
regulations.
I'm gonna look at that and I'm gonna read it, I'm gonna take it maybe to its crazy extreme. We agree to that, and then somebody comes along and says, those stairs don't meet building code. You're not taking every step to comply with every law. So you need to rebuild them, and you need to add an elevator because the ADA says you need to have an elevator access. And it says you're gonna comply with every safety law. Well, really? That's not even reasonable. That's why I wanna add that.
Yeah, well, I think that's a handicap access law. and
ADA is a
we
law.
have the lift.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you don't sign it or you don't do it, they're gonna come in and make you do it anyway.
Well, at least we're not saying we're gonna do it. We're saying
Well,
we're gonna
all
make a reasonable effort, but let's run it through.
Yeah, all
Yeah,
I'm saying. is we
run
gotta
it through.
through.
Well, he's part of the joint loss anyway. Phil St. Cyr from Primex sits in
Okay.
the joint loss.
I just would like,
Yep.
I know, and I'm just real brief about building codes. As architects, as engineers and designers, we're obligated to, if I could stack the building codes from the floor, be this high, there's no way that I can know everything that's in there. We've got people in our office that's all their job is to know those, and they don't know them all. And when we have to sign statements saying our design complies with all building codes, we always write stuff in there like, reasonable, because there's no way, there's just no practical way for anybody to be able to do that, so that's all. Any other business? Okay, move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.